Mighty God, we thank that you have gathered us here again. Father, we are going to discuss a lot of things to help better this institution and the nation at large. We call upon your presence. We pray that you guide our facilitator. You also guide the members who will be listening. Those who have not yet joined, Lord, you also connect them up so that we move together. Be our chairperson from the beginning up to the end of the program. We pray all this in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much for the word of prayer. Uh, and I want to welcome each and everyone who has joined this call. Thank you so much for joining, and thank you so much for keeping the time. I'm going to share my screen, and let me hope everyone is in position to see my screen. Kindly let me know through the chat whether you can see my screen. Okay. Now, our session today, we are going to focus on how do we develop and score our continuous assessment items. You understand very well that every time children are doing CAIs, when the children reach senior 3, they are supposed to be doing the CAI. They must be observed. And what are we going to look at today in this session? We are going to look at what is the difference between the traditional assessments and then the competence-based one. We are going to look at what is the CAI and what is the purpose. What is the reason why we are doing the CAI? What are the components of a well-developed CAI? Then we are going to look at how do we align our CAIs to the learning outcomes. Then we shall look at the COPE approach, and then we shall look at how do we score learners' work, or how do we carry on this assessment. Now, when you look at my screen, in the traditional setting, the major focus for our assessment was on recalling all facts, memorizing content, and then the syllabus coverage. But when it comes to the competence-based assessment, we are mainly looking at how are the children applying the knowledge. It is not about now accumulation, but how are they applying the knowledge they are learning in class? How are they developing the skills? How are they utilizing and applying the values? So we are looking at the real life things. That is the competence-based curriculum. Number two, the methods that were very common. We used to write tests, exams, papers, every term, mid-term, end of term, and the rest of that. However, now our assessment is changing, that we want the children to be more practical. We want children to have projects. We want these children to be observed. Children must discuss. Children must collaborate. Children must use the ICT skills. Children must develop portfolios. Now, that is the trend that now we are looking at. When you remember our tradition one, mainly the teachers were the examiners, were the controllers, whatever thing they used to say, it was the overall thing, it was the correct thing. So they were authoritative. However, when it comes to this new curriculum, as a teacher, your role is just to act as a facilitator. You are supposed to guide the children. The child must be able to investigate. The child must be able to find out. You are a coach. Like when you are in soccer, you are like the coach. You are doing the work of the coach. So when you look at the evidence or the outcome, many times we are looking at the marks, we are looking at the ranks, that the best school is the one that is always ranked at first. The best candidate is the one who gets the maximum what? Scores. But the world, that's not how it operates. You'll find someone who has the best marks, but when he's lacking this skill and the other. Now, the evidence is, can the learner demonstrate the competence? Can the learner perform the skill that we have taught this learner how to install and uninstall softwares on the computer? Can the learner demonstrate that skill? When this learner goes back home, can he be able to support the community in installing and uninstalling the softwares? In case you have taught this learner, let me say in in biology, you have taught a given topic, you have taught them about substance and drug abuse. Can they now show that the community, how dangerous those things you have taught them are to the community? Now, learners must be able to do, and learners must be able to perform those skills that they have acquired from the class. So when you look at the photos I have here, you can notice that one, it is showing us the traditional setting. Then the second one is showing us that what kind of learner are we looking at in the competence-based curriculum. That in the previous curriculum, many of the things we are concentrating on were exams, test papers. So we used to have children who have a lot of content, but when you look at the heart and you look at the skills, they were not well developed. Now we are saying that can we have these children have all those skills developed? Our major concentration in the old setting was testing the head. We are mainly looking at the head, the cognitive abilities of the learner. However, there are other things that we need also to look at, such as an example, the heart, the values, the feelings of the children. We need to look at the skills the child has acquired. So that is where the CAI is coming in. So the CAI is coming in because we want to observe, we want to assess other domains apart from the cognitive domain. That previously our major focus was on the cognitive domain. However, now can we move on from only focusing on the cognitive domain, but also have assessment on this part where we have the heart, but also have the skills assessed. And that's where the CAI is coming in. So when in the learning journey, we have basically three domains. We have about what we call the cognitive domain, we have what we call the affective domain, and what we call the psychomotor domain. Now, when you look at those three domains, each of those domains has its own purpose. Each of those domains plays its own role. But many times during the assessment, our focus is only on one domain. Now, what does it mean? It means that in the competence-based curriculum, we need these children to be assessed in all the domains. Much as the children are getting the knowledge, they are getting the skills. The knowledge, the thinking is more on the cognitive bit of it. But also these children have feelings. These children have values we need to look at under the affective domain. But in the process of working out, these children are using their hands. These children are using their legs to do some things. Now we need also to assess the psychomotor domain. Now the CAI that we administer is focusing on these two domains. So you are noticing that these two domains is where we are going to be focusing on. So the CAI mainly, or the CAI assesses those two domains. And you'll find out that when you are to put it, this is going to be around 33.3, and also this one is going to contribute 33.3. That means that when you add up those percentages, you notice that the affective and the psychomotor domain contributes around 66.6. So what does it mean? That it is a bigger part that we need also to look at in the process of teaching and the learning of our children. Take an example. When you look at this picture, when you give these children an exam, like what we do, you may not be able to see the different skills that this child is having in the swimming. But when you have your CAI, you are in position to see, you are in position to observe the kind of skill, the specific skills that this child has. But in the paper, the child will just write for you. But through demonstration, when you are handling PE, and you are going to observe this child to assess the swimming skills, then you'll be able to know that this child is good with this child can do this child can do this. However, we cannot attain this using the exams, using the normal exams that we were giving our children. So when you have the CAI, it means that you are able to see whatever skill the child is having, and then the child can be in position to improve. Even you can support the child to improve on those skills you have observed and the areas where the child needs improvement. When you are looking at Sarah E and you are looking at one of the topics, you may notice that there are things you may not notice. Like when you are looking at the affective domain, you may not know that children, when they are serving out things to the elders, they are supposed to kneel. Now, you may not be able to see this kind of value, respect for elders, if you have not observed the what? The child. So the paper will not bring out this thing, but through observation you are able to see now that this child is in position to kneel down when he's handling over an item to an elder. So that means that you are able to see respect for an elder, which is part of the values that we must be giving, or is part of the values that our children must go with as they leave school. Now, some of these things you may not see them on paper, but through using of these checklists, some of these things we are going to be able to see them, and you'll be in position to assess them. Now, when we talk about a continuous assessment item, we are looking at that real life assessment task that requires the child to demonstrate what they can do, using what they have acquired from the class, using the knowledge, using the skills, using the values and then attitudes. Whatever thing that these children acquire from the class, can they demonstrate it practically? Can they do it? And as a teacher, you observe it. Now, that's what we call the CAI. So the CAI assesses those particular things from mainly the affective and then the psychomotor domain. So, when we talk about the CAI, what is its purpose? Purpose is the reason. Why are we giving the CAIs? Why are we doing the observations? The first one is that we want to assess the application of the learning. Many times we do teach these children, but we are not in position to see what can they do using this knowledge you have imparted into these children. So, through the CAIs, we are able to see the application of learning. We are able to see what these children can do rather than just focusing on memorizing. You have taught this child livestock feeding. You have taught him how to make feeds for cattle or for any animal. Then as a teacher, you must be able to see that now this child is able to apply this knowledge where? At their farm, at school, to come up with the feeds that they can give the cows, use in balanced what? In balanced ratio. That in case you have taught this child, let me say you have taught the child mathematics and you have taught the child matrices, then you need to see that can this child use the mathematics you have taught her to arrange things in rows and columns? If yes, then it means now it is okay. The child is able to apply the learning. We are also looking at developing the generic skills. When you look at our curriculum, at the center of it, our children must develop the generic skills. Now, each of the topics we have in the syllabus, there is a major skill that it tests out for. There is a major generic skill. Now, the CAIs that we are going to be dealing with, we are going to be having a particular generic skill that we are focusing on to support this child to develop it. In case, let me say I'm looking at geography. I know in geography they have a topic about population. Now I know that when I'm handling that topic of population, one of the skills that these students must develop is the mathematical computation and ICT proficiency. And why? Because in that topic, these students must be able to sort data, must be able to analyze data, must be able to present data using different graphical skills that they have acquired. If I'm teaching these children, let me say a topic, let me say in chemistry, then I need to know that under this topic, I'm looking at creativity. In case I'm handling English and I'm teaching a topic maybe concerning job interviews, then I need to know that one of the skills that this child must possess should be a skill concerning communication. Because how is this child going to present? How is this child going to respond to the questions that they're asking him at the interview? Now, that is why when we are looking at the CAI, we are going to be focusing on a particular skill. In case maybe I'm teaching this child, let me say in physics, I'm teaching him about electricity, then I know that one of the skills that I need to test out for is going to be about cooperation and self-directed learning. Because in the process, in order for you to acquire some things, you cannot do them alone, but you may need to cooperate with one body and another, because you know that in order for electricity to reach where you are, there are quite a lot of people in the chain. You have this kind of engineer, you have this kind of engineer. So those are the skills that we are going to be developing. So when we are assessing or when we have the CAI, we are able to develop the generic skills. So the CAIs are going to be supporting in developing the generic skills. Number 3 is promoting of active learning. Whenever learners engage in practical things, they're able to retain that information for a longer period of time. Now, when you look at, let me say Sarah E. In Sarah E, there are, or let me use history. When you look at history, they look at something concerning human rights. That means that when the children learn these things and do them practically, they are able to engage and they are able to share ideas. In the process, you are teaching them some skills because they are going to go and make research about that particular thing that you have given them. So those are the 3 major. And what are the components of a CAI? Now, a CAI has 2 major components. The first one is what we call a scenario. Sometimes you can call it a context or what we call a situation. Now, when we talk about a scenario, that is the real life thing that triggers the learner's thinking, such that he can be able to utilize and mobilize the knowledge, the skills, and the values to apply them in the practical situation or any problem that the learner may come across. Now, when we are talking about the components of a good scenario, 1, you must always have an introduction. An introduction is what sets the pace. You must have a context. However, whatever context you are coming up with, let it be real life context. Let it be something that the children can easily see, can relate to in real life. There must be a problem. What issue are you looking at for this learner to solve? So what challenge is there in the situation? Then you must also provide information. The information you provide, it can be data. Let me say in geography, in case you are going to be handling things concerning population, then the child must have the data that he is going to look at and then continue. In case you are looking at let me say math, you can have images that the child can look at, let me say under matrices, under 3 dimensions. In case you are looking at let me say ICT, then you must have the software, or you need to direct the child where to get the softwares that you want this child to learn how to install them on the computer. In case you are talking about food and nutrition technology, then you must have the products that the child is going to use to come up with maybe the products from the milk. So those are some of the things that compose a scenario. Then the next one is what we call a task. A task are the instructions. That is what you want the child to do. That is what guides the child on what output you are expecting the child to come to get. Let me say the task may tell the child that install the softwares. It means that you want the child to go on and install the softwares on the compound. You may want this child to read an article. Then that means that you tell the child, read the article. You may want this child to watch a video. Then the child must be able to watch the video. You may want the child to listen to an audio. Then the child must listen to the audio. So now the task must guide the child on what do you want the child to have. What do you want this child to get? What do you want the child to get from the scenario? So that is what we call the task. Tasks are instructions that guide the child on how to perform or on what to do using the scenario that you have provided. An example, let me use mathematics. Now, when you look at this, I have a scenario. And when you look at the real life aspect of it, you can notice that in our schools, we have welfare teams. at secondary level. And you know that every week, many times in schools, children always have rice and beans. If the school has a lot of resources, they can change and put maybe meat and other sources. Now, when you look at this, the child can easily relate to that, hey, on Sundays or Saturdays, we usually eat rice and beans. Now, here, the child must know what is he going to do. So the task is asking the child to imitate, to copy, and do what the welfare teacher is doing to assist the prefects. Now, you note that this is just one level of the domain that we are looking at. But what is very important, I want you to note that you must always have a scenario that the child is going to read, and then you must have a task that the child must do. When you look at another example, when you look at this is Sarah E. You can note that in Sarah E, I can have my scenario like this because in Sarah E, they have something to deal with charity. What does it mean? It means that the child is going to first read the scenario and then will respond to what the task is. The tasks are like the instructions. You want this child to click on the link and then read the article. Now, that's what we call that your CAI must always have a scenario and must have a task, depending on the level that you are assessing. Now, for us to have a good CAI, or what makes a CAI a good one, it must always be aligned to the subject competence. All our subjects, or whatever topic you have in the syllabus, has a competency, has something the learner must be in position to do after you have completed that topic. Now, you must always align your CAI to the topic and to the subject competency. Number 2, it must be real life. Let it be realistic. Don't mention something that is abstract, that the learner may not be able to get, or something that the learner may not be able to relate to. So let it be something realistic. Don't mention, maybe let me say, you mention something that even does not exist in real world. So let it be something that exists within the real world that a learner can easily look at and access. Then it must be something simple and clear. So the item, the task that you said, let it be clear and use simple language. Let the instructions be clear. What do you want the learner to do? Do you want the learner to respond? Do you want the learner to mimic? Do you want the learner to copy? Do you want the learner to organize? Do you want the learner to participate? So your task should always be clear and the scenario should be simple for easy. Number 4, it must be inclusive in nature. Let the item, let whatever thing you're coming up with be suitable for all learners. In case you notice that whatever you're coming up with, it's going to be exclusive. An example, let me say you are handling agriculture. And what are you going to look at? You are looking at livestock feeding, or you are looking at feeding, or something like that. Then you need to know that the livestock you are picking can favor all learners, but do not pick one that does not favor the other. In case you are looking at, let me say, ICT, and you are looking at installing and maybe installing software, you notice that in the whole class, maybe the class 99% of them are using Windows, and there is one learner that is using the other, maybe Linux or other settings and the rest of it. Then you need to know that how can I have inclusivity in the situation. Then it must be relevant and engaging. If the activity the activity you are coming up with must be able to engage the learner to apply what they are learning, but also it should be able to motivate them, and should be something that is very interesting. So anything to be called a good CAI should bring out the best in the child. Okay. Now we are going to start breaking into different domains. So we are going to first concentrate on what we call the affective domain. Now I have, when you look at my screen, I have different cards. So I want you to place in the chat. You can place in the chat, or you can raise up your hand and you share with us. Which letter do you think comes first? When you look at these charts, they are not arranged in order. They are very disorganized, but I want us to arrange them in the order you think they should be arranged in when you look at all of them. So take time, read through, and then feel free to place your answer in the chat, or you can raise up your hand and then you share with us which card do you think should come first, followed by which card, followed by which card. Okay, so let's read. In case you finish, feel free to raise up your hand and then you share with us. Alternatively, place your answer in the chat. Okay, I have a hand. Yes, Teacher Alex.
Yeah, thank you, Mister, for the presentation. This is the teacher Alex. I think the arrangement according to my assessment is a C, D, E, B, and A.
Come again. C.
D,
Mm-hmm.
E, E, B, then A.
Okay. Thank you, Teacher Alex. Could you be having the reason why?
Yeah, according to what I see, that in C, Spice was informed. So you first get the information before you. So after getting the information that this school lacked some things, she decided she learned about that challenge and discussed it with her friends. That is it. D. Then after discussing with the friends, the next thing you do is to plan how you're going to visit. So she planned, then after that, she visited. After planning, you visit, then after visiting, you engage with the stakeholders. Then later on, you appreciate those who have been involved. That is why I came up with that arrangement.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Let's have Ubuntu. Thank you, Teacher Alex. Yes, Ubuntu, you can unmute. Oh, I'm failing to get to Ubuntu. From the chat, I'm not seeing, some people are saying CEBDA, CBDEA. Okay. So people have,
Hello?
yes, Ubuntu?
Yes, do you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, I believe it is C, A, E,
Mhm.
D, then B last.
Could you
C,
be having the
A,
Y?
E. Yes, because I believe after Spice has been informed that there is a challenge, she has to appreciate the importance of supporting learners. That's what I believe. Then from there, she goes to E. She plans on how she's going to support the learners. Then it crosses to D. After planning, then she mobilizes. She goes to B, D. Then lastly is B.
Okay, 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 okay. Thank you. Thank you for the sharing. Okay. So now when you look at different levels, okay, then last stage, Chiboga. Uh, okay,
So
sorry.
on my proposal,
Hmm.
C is first,
Mm-hmm.
then E is second,
Mm-hmm.
B is the third,
Okay.
then D is the fourth, then
Okay.
we end with the A.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Now, very okay, thank you everyone for the contribution. Yes, I will agree with everyone that the first step, you remember there was I want to relate this to the musician who visited Uganda recently. I think she was called Spice as well. When she came to the country, they informed her about one of the communities that didn't have some of the resources. Now that means that the first step is always receiving the information, because there is no way you are going to act if you have not got the information. Now the first is receiving the information. So I will agree with you that she has to first receive the information. Now after receiving the information, then she has to ask herself, how am I going to respond? You have been presented with a problem. The next thing you ask yourself, how am I going to respond to the problem? Now, what does it mean? How do you respond? So one way to respond to a problem can be through discussion. It can be through asking yourself questions. Yeah, you may ask yourself question, this and this, this and this. So that is what? Questioning. So that means that I will agree that after that, by discussing, it means that now you are trying to find out how are you going to solve the what? The problem. Now that is the responding, which is your D. Then after responding, you are going to value that, you know what do I need to do? So you organize yourself very well. You look, you start like valuing. Say, education is very important, this and this. Then from valuing, you start organizing yourself. You organize what to take them and the rest of that. And then after, you can take them. Now, this scenario here, all these cards we have here, I want to relate them to the different levels under the affective domain. Now, the affective domain has basically five levels, or we call them ability levels. What does it mean? Now, these ability levels we have are the ones, when we are setting these scenarios, we set them basing on the ability levels. So when I talk about receiving is more or less like awareness, is more or less like listening, is more or less like paying attention, is showing willingness. That is receiving. You get the information. You can obtain this information. It can be through a call. It can be through watching news. It can be through listening to radio. It can be reading an article. That is receiving. Someone may inform you about it. That is receiving. Now, when it comes to responding is the discussion. The responding is like answering the questions. Responding is like showing the interest. Responding is more or less like participating. That is the next level. Then from there we have what we call the valuing. Valuing is like appreciating, is like demonstrating your commitment towards something. It's like respecting the values. That's what we call valuing. It's like showing that attitude, the positive attitude towards supporting someone. Then when it comes to organization means that now you are going to take it as a priority. It means that you are going to go on and relate those values that you have such that you can be able to support what you have. Then the last one is what we call characterization. When we talk about characterization is where you act according to the values you have. Someone who has character would always be the same no matter the kind of situation. Like when a child reaches the characterization level, whatever thing you have taught this child, it is part of the child. Take an example. If you have taught this child about pollution, let me say in English, you have taught the child about pollution, waste management, and the rest of that. If a child reaches characterization level, that child will never pass any rubbish that she finds. That child will never throw a bottle through the window. That child will never pass something like let me say rubbish on compound. That's what we call characterization. That someone, now whatever topic you have taught, it is part of this what? This child. You have taught in biology things concerning abuse and the rest of that. If someone has reached that level of characterization, he will never use drugs because he knows how dangerous they are. This child will go on to advise his friends. He will sensitize them. Yeah? So it is part of the child. So whatever topic that involves affective domain, we expect that by the time the child reaches the characterization level, is totally a different child, is a child who values. You have taught him about electricity and physics. We expect that since you have taught him the different energy changes, you have taught him about electricity wastage and the rest of that, we expect that someone who has reached at characterization level, once he finds the switch or the light when it was forgotten on, that child will go on and switch it off. If the child has reached that level, you'll never find that child wasting electricity. He will be minimizing. Say, let's not waste it. That's what we call characterization, that it is part of the child. Now, if you start reflecting, if you have taught any given topic, have our children reached the characterization level? So as a teacher, as you score this child, do you feel the child has reached that level of characterization? Can he demonstrate whatever value that this child has obtained? So that's what we call the characterization level, and it is one of the hardest level to reach on. By the time a child reaches that characterization level, as a teacher, you can see value in that particular child. In case it is about respect, the child will be respecting the what? The community, will be respecting his fellows. The kind of words he uses, it will be there. So that is what now we are saying. So these are the major 5 levels. And these levels, in the process of teaching and learning, we need always to know that if I'm handling this topic, I'm handling this learning outcome, which skill, which domain am I focusing on? This learning outcome, what domain does it look out for? So, how do learners receive information? Now, when it comes to receiving information, these are some of the ways learners can receive information. It can be through reading. Learners, you can give these children books, articles, newspapers, scriptures, and the rest of that. It can be through listening. They can listen to their peers. Sometimes we have children who have joined us, but they are from different environments. Maybe they are from this and they have good experiences. So those children or those peers can give good stories that these children in class can listen to. As a teacher, you may have something. Let me say you are teaching entrepreneurship and you are going to teach about record keeping, and you know you have been doing it. You can share your experience and children can listen to it. It can be through leaders. It can be through audio and visual recordings. It can be a YouTube video. It can be a radio presentation. It can be a TikTok video that you have picked. It can be a WhatsApp audio. It can be whatever. Then the children can listen to it, and then it can be through observation. Children may observe. Let me say they can observe a given thing. Children can visit sites. There are some topics that we are handling whereby for children to get the information, let them visit the sites. You may not, let me say you are teaching about electricity, how electricity is generated and distributed. Now, one of the best ways for children to have such, to receive that information, is through making site visits. Let me say you can say, I'm going to go to Isimba Dam, I'm going to go I'm going to have a visit at the Nile at Bujagali or Narubali. Then that means that is a good site visit. You are teaching about nutrition and food technology. You are looking at milk products and the rest of that. Then you know that we can make a good visit to Murwana farms. You can be let me say, a biology teacher. You are talking about substance and other things. Then you say, I know Butabika has a unit about substance and drug abuse. Let me visit that. Let us have a walk there. Let us go there and visit. You may be someone. Let me say you are teaching, let me say PE. You are talking about swimming and the rest of that. Then you say, no, we can visit a swimming pool such that the children can be able to experience such. So that means that for whatever thing that we are doing, it will depend. How do you want these children to receive information? That means that in that domain for receiving, when it comes to the domain for receiving, you can use any of these approaches. It can be through consultation. It can be through interviews. It can be through watching. You can decide that, no, what am I going to do? Let the children watch a video. Let them watch a documentary. Let them do research. It can be through experience. Now, these are the different ways learners can receive information. That means that when you are designing Your CAI, you are designing a scenario. It means that you need to look out for what would be the best format for my children to receive information. Is it through article? Is it reading newspapers? Is it through site visits? Is it through this? Such that now the children can know or can be able to get the right information. Sometimes as teachers, we may be knowledgeable, but someone who is doing that particular thing may understand more than the knowledge we have. So let me say you are handling things concerning, let me still use physics, things concerning wiring and the rest of that. This person that is doing the ones we call the commuters, those people who are doing it practically, those people can give these children good information. They can be able to respond. Now you need to know that for such, I can have a guest speaker that can come and talk about that particular thing. So it will depend what kind of topic are you handling and which approach do you think will be suitable for the child to receive this information. Then the next one, how do they respond? Now, when it comes to responding, that is the second level. It means that it can be through asking relevant questions. You have gone for site visit. When children are responding, they may ask questions such that they can understand. It can be through discussion. It can be through further research. It can be through participating in these activities. Now, whenever we receive information, we respond differently. So when it comes to responding, it can be through giving opinions, through responding to questions. When you ask the child a given question and responds back, then it means that now you are at the responding level. When it comes to another one of valuing, we have said that valuing is when a learner gives more importance. The learner shows concern. The learner shows their feelings towards something. The learner starts showing the appreciation for the good practice. If you have taught this child, let me say about, like we have said about pollution and the rest of that, then the child will be very responsible. The child will be picky. The child will not be careless about a given thing, because now this child has started valuing. Many times when we teach, our children are not able to value. If you are handling these children and they are still throwing rubbish, you always find a class data, you always find this and this, it means that your children did not reach the valuing stage. It means that they stopped at responding. That yes, they asked questions, but they are not valuing. That's why now this curriculum is different. That for any product that we are producing out, if you have taken them through the right steps, I want to assure you these children will be totally different, because they are going to be valuing whatever thing you are teaching them, depending on that particular topic. So it is always very important that when we are teaching the children, let us now start let us be more intentional. If you have reached the valuing, you'll find that if a child has been abusing drugs in school, that child will come and talk to you. That child will surrender. That child will share with you. That child will say, teacher, have these drugs, you keep them for me. Because now the child has started to practice. The child has understood. So that's what we call valuing. This child will be respecting the people. Now, these are some of the things that will show that now the child has reached that level. When it comes to organization, now the child can influence. Take an example. The teacher of biology has talked about abuse of substance and the rest of that. This child, if he has reached the organization level, the child can be able now to influence others to appreciate the information. The child can even go to different classes and talk about this. In case he finds people who are taking drugs, these fellow students, he can talk to them. That is now what we call by organization. That now he can even guide others to take on responsible behavior. In case this child sees someone throwing rubbish, the child will tell him politely, excuse me, don't throw rubbish there. Why? Because of this and this. Now, that's what we call the organization. That now what you have learned, you are able to share with the outside community and influence others. Then the last one is what we call characterization. I've said that a character, if someone has character, that person will always remain the same, whether you are there or not. whether the teacher is in class or not. In case it is about anything, you'll find that this child always does the right thing, whether you are seeing him or not. And like I've said, that this is one of the hardest levels. Even us as teachers, sometimes we find ourselves that there are things that you are going to do because your boss is around. But when your boss is not around, you're a totally different what? Person. What does it mean? It means that you have no character. Someone who has character, whether the boss is around or not, you do the right thing. That's what we call character. When your neighbor was visiting schools some time back, this holiday, you notice that many schools didn't reach this level of characterization. Why? Because they had UNEB coming. That's when they started doing the right thing. And when UNEB left, they went back to their normal thing. So character means that you do the same thing, whether someone is watching you or not, but you stay true to yourself. So that is the last level of the affective domain. Now, as we approach this domain, there are some action verbs. There are some behavioral verbs that are usually used, which show that the learner is at this level. Now, the first one, when it comes to receiving, these are some of the verbs that we can use when we are describing the behavior of a person. And when you look at your syllabus book carefully and you look at the learning outcomes, you will notice that in case there is a learning outcome with any of these words, let me use the word appreciate, you will find that under that learning outcome, in bracket, they are going to put V. Because that means that when you are handling that learning outcome, the child must be able to value the knowledge you are impacting in him. Now, these are some of those behavioral words we use. So when you find some learning outcomes using these words, then you know that now this is the kind of level. I'll give an example. When you look at this is Justice, and this is Sarah E, but let me also relate to IRE. When you look at these ones, you'll notice that under the learning outcomes we have, when you relate, you'll notice that there is a learning outcome that says appreciate the value of a just society in order to attain joy, gratitude, and friendship. Meaning that when the teacher is handling this learning outcome, because appreciating is under affective domain, and here it is V, this is valuing. That means that the child must value what a just environment is, how we can promote justice within the school environment. So the child must value. If I'm looking at, let me give another example. If this is now physics, when you look at the learning outcomes, you are going to notice that where you are going to find V, the children must value the information you are giving them. Where you are going to find V and you look at the learning outcomes, they have said appreciate. Now, that means, what does it mean? It means that that particular learning outcome, when you are handling it, you must ensure that the child is really valuing it. That if is the child appreciating. Now here, to know that you have attained this learning outcome is not through writing in the exam. No, it is through observing. That if the child has attained this one, energy saving appliance, you will never find this child leaving on those electrical appliances on when he's not using them. You'll never find this child, let me say, doing things just to waste. You never find lights on, yet it is day when the light is not needed. Now that will show that now this learner has now noticed how to utilize and knows how to save the energy. You'll find that if this learner is buying an appliance, let me say is buying a flat iron, is buying a bulb, he will know that now if I'm to buy a bulb, I need to buy a one that saves what? Energy. That even at home, he will recommend that, mommy, know what? No, let's not buy this. Why? Because this one takes a lot of energy. So the learner even will be able to know the kind of words and the rest of that. Now, that's what we call the valuing. So now, this kind of learning outcome cannot just be seen or assessed in an exam, but needs to be observed through the different actions that the learner performs. In case I'm handling, this is English, and I'm handling relationships and emotions. When you look at these learning outcomes, values, and this one, that means that when you are handling this, the learner must now show. How do you express emotions? Sometimes the learners get pissed. Why? Because their performance has been bad. Maybe they have not done according to their expectation. Now, for them to see how they are expressing emotions, they need to understand. You can create a scenario as a teacher and say that now, maybe this and this, and then you see how does this learner express his what? Emotions. That means that this is observed. You need to observe it very well. That in case this learner is annoyed, in case the learner maybe he has disagreed with the friend or the rest of that, how does he express his emotions? Does he just react? Or he is able to balance and know that now I need to balance my emotions with the logical thinking. That in case I'm passing on a message, whether good or bad, how do I express myself? What kind of relationships do I have? So now you need to be very observant. Whenever you are handling such learning outcomes, you need to check out that these children have gone on to attain those values at that particular stage. So so when you go back to your syllabus books, kindly check out any learning outcome you find with those words V and the rest of that. It means that there is some valuing you need to assess. If let me say for some subjects, these letters were not indicated, then look out for the behavioral verbs that were used. As long as you see words like appreciate and the rest of that, then you know that now that one, it is under this kind of domain. Now, this term, you'll find that for senior 3, all these topics are going to be handled under the affective domain. Whenever you are assessing, now people of CRE and IRE, wealth and development, people of history, people of chemistry, and people of what? Of biology. So that means that these topics here, they are the ones that are going to be constituting the affective domain. When it comes to senior 4, you'll find that these topics here are going to be under the affective domain. Now, how do we develop these CAIs? Now, we are starting with the affective domain. And like I've said, I've showed you that this term 2, the subjects that are going to have affective domain, they are basically history, CRE, biology, chemistry, physics. Those are the subjects. Now, when you look at my screen, I'm just using 3 subjects. I'm using CRE, history, and physics. Now, what do you need to do? Always you need to come up with a framework. Now, as you are coming up, one, you need to understand the competency. That if I'm dealing with CRE, this is the competence that I need to look out for. That what should the learner be able to do at the end of that day? In case for history, this is the competence. And then for physics, this is what the learner should be able to do at the end of that day. That means that in case I'm handling physics, by the time we finish that topic, by the time we finish all those activities, the learner must know how electricity is distributed. The learner must be able to appreciate energy consumption, energy saving, to know what and the rest of that. Then after you knowing the competence, you are going to go to the learning outcome. Now, when you look at the learning outcomes, when we are using the CAI, because not all the objectives are for valuing, that means that there are specific objectives that we shall always be picking out. So sometimes you may find is 1, another time you may find they are 2. When you look at, let me say, when you go back here, and you look at CRE, when I was showing you CRE, you may not, okay, let me start with physics. When you look at physics, you may note that the competence that have values, that have those particular values, or that it is this and this mainly. When it comes to CRE, you may find that the topic that has the valuing bit of it, that affective domain of it, it is this one. So that means that not all times they will pick all the learning outcomes, but you may find that in the CAI, there is just one learning outcome that you are going to build on all your scenarios. So when it comes to our people of CRE, this is now the competence. This is the learning outcome that you are going to focus on. When it comes to history, this is going to be the learning outcome. Then when it comes to physics, then these are going to be the learning outcomes. What does it mean? It means that your scenarios you are going to come up with must be able to bring out all these ideas. The child must be able to know how electricity is distributed. The learner must know the different energy transformations. The learner must know how to use the main electricity safely. The learner must know the dangers of the main. The learner must know how to read domestic electric meters. Now that means that for some of these learning outcomes, to be able to achieve them, you need to have the meter, then show the learner the meter, let the learner read, let her know how to calculate the cost, to know the number of units, how to pay, and the rest of that. Now, these are some. Then this is the last one, appreciating the importance. Then from there, I want you to observe that always there is a particular skill. Much as the generic skills are many, but each of these topics has that particular one that we want to look out for. In case I'm looking at the topic of justice, that means that the skill that I'm looking for is under critical thinking and problem solving. Now, when they talk about critical thinking and problem solving, what do you need to know? That can this child be able to sort and analyze information? Can this child be able to identify a problem and give a way forward? In case this child has found people fighting, can this child be able to identify the problem? Can he be able to find a way forward? Can this child be able to predict the outcomes and make reasonable decisions? Can this child be able to evaluate the different solutions? Then that is under critical thinking and problem solving. That here the children must be able to solve a problem. There is a problem that is not just in society. Can the children critically think and solve it? When it comes to history, there is what we call, for them they are handling, the skill that we are going to assess is going to be creativity and innovation. Now, when we talk about creativity and innovation, can these children imagine? Can they explore different possibilities? We know that neo-colonialism, this is more of like dependence on our supermasters and the rest of that. Can the children provide, can they be able to explore the possibilities that instead of us depending on those foreigners, can we now have other possibilities on what we can do using our locally available materials and resources? Hey, can these children be able to sit together and come up with ideas? Because the children may have, the idea may be big. Can they come out? That is what we call creativity and innovation. Can they suggest? Can they propose different innovative solutions? Can they try out other alternatives that instead of us depending on this particular country for everything that we are bringing into the country, can't we do this and the other? Can't we try out this? That why should we depend on always having the gadgets from out of the country? Can't we have our own? Like, why are we always importing maybe cars and the rest of them? Can't we have them made from here? At least we start with assembling. Now, those are the innovative things. That's what we call creativity and innovation. Now, when it comes to this skill of cooperation and self-directed learning, there are some things that you need to look out for as a teacher. Meaning that the scenario you are going to check out, you are going to ask yourself, will the learners be able to work as a team? Can this learner work in a team? That maybe in order for you to bring out cooperation, can you now organize a field study trip? Can you organize a site visit? And then you see, how do these children cooperate? How do they work together? Can this learner be able to interact with others? By interaction, can he interact with other people, new people that maybe you have gone for a site visit? Can he be able to interact? Meaning that the scenario you are bringing out, it should be able to bring out those key indicators of that particular generic skill. Can they take responsibility for their learning? That not everything that is here you are going to teach them, but can they go on and maybe make more research to find out this and the other? Can they be able to work independently? Now, that is what we call cooperation and self-directed learning. Can they manage time? You have told them that we have to go to the site at this time. Can they manage the time? Now, that's what we call cooperation and self-directed learning. That means that these skills here are the ones we are going to be assessing. So whatever thing you are going to be looking out for, those are the things that we are going to look out for. So those are the different things that we need to look out for these skills. I will give you an example. This is a sample this is just a draft, let me say, for physics. In case I'm handling physics and I'm looking at the receiving, what am I going to do? Receiving is like, how are children going to get the information? How are the children going to receive this information about electrical energy? Then I can say that on the 12th June, learners of senior fourth are visiting Isimba Hydroelectric Power Station. During the school study tour, they are to observe the following. Then after, what is the task? Then the task I consider, listen to the engineers, observe the activities at the power station, and gather information about electrical energy, distribution, and consumption. That is now. Now you have to always go back and ask yourself, what am I looking out for? Am I learning outcomes being achieved? That when I go back here, that one of the learning outcomes is that the learner must be able to understand the distribution of electricity from the source to consume. Now that means that you visiting Isimba Dam power plant, you want this learner to attain this learning outcome. You want the learner to know, you want the learner to understand how does the electricity move from the source to the consumer unit. That means that when the learner interacts with the engineers, this learning outcome is going to be achieved. Then number 2, you want the learner to know the different energy transformations in the different. Now you may find that this one may not be obtained, but this one may be obtained in the next level. Then how to use main electricity safely. Now this one can as well be achieved. Where? From Isimba. Know the dangers. Then this one can as well be received from there. So you notice that now you need to always take into consideration that these learning outcomes I'm looking at, am I able to achieve them using the scenarios that I'm coming up with? So what does it mean? It means that here, when as a school you visit this particular company, these are the things the learner are going to be listening to. These are the things they are going to be taking note of, that they will take note of this and the other. Now, when you go to the responding level, now here you are, you know that you have gone to the power plant, and the learners have learned. By responding, the children can make a report. What did they learn from there? The children, that's what we call a responding. Even now, you will notice that receiving and responding can be achieved almost at the same time. Because under responding, when the children are there, they can even go on to ask questions. They can ask the questions to the engineer, this and this, this and this. Now that means the children are responding. So now when they come back, you may ask them to make a report about the visit to the power station. Then they write about everything that they have gone on to learn. Now when it comes to valuing, now here you need to know, how are these learners going to start valuing the topic I'm handling? Now under valuing is, how are these learners appreciating your topic of electricity? That now they are going to start switching off the light, they are going to stop wasting, they are going to stop playing with electricity. Whenever there is a fault, they will report, they are not going to steal, and the rest of that. Now that's what we call valuing. Now when it comes to the organization, now these learners are going to be able to go on and even support the community. They can even sensitize their fellows. They can go even on the assembly and sensitize the others about the safety, how to prevent electrical accidents, how to handle situations, how to connect. Now that means they have reached at organization. Now, when they reach characterization, here you are sure that this particular learner now knows how electricity can move from the source to where it is. Now learners know how to connect the electricity using they know the different color codes they use, that this is neutral, this is live. They know very well that this is how to save energy, that these are the electrical appliances to use, that this is how we read the meter, this is how we pay. Now that is characterization, that anything concerning electricity is no longer a question. That a child who is going through that physics of electricity, you assume the child is somewhere and he can do it. Now let me give you a visit to Isimba. Now when you look at this, you notice that here I was in Isimba hydropower plant. I've reached Kayunga. So this is where the dam is. So learners can be able to see the water. So in the process, there are some things that they are going to be learning. Now, this is what also you can do. That sometimes we may not have the resources to get there, but you as a teacher, you may go there. I'm also going to ask you that whenever you are moving somewhere or you're going somewhere, be more intentional. You can take photos. You never know where those photos are going to how are they going to help you. But also you need to be very careful not to just take, because not all areas they allow taking what? Photos. Now, these are the different things that when you are making the site visit, you can decide. Now, those who are at Hoima, you may have seen this plant here. The learners may come and visit this area. They are not going to be allowed inside because those components are very what? Dangerous. But they will stand at the fence. They will be able to observe. They will know why they put stone. They will know what the use of this, and the other. So they will get clear explanations. That if you are going to come up with the meter, you tell them that now we have 11.2 kilowatt hour. Then the learners must know, how do they put on this yaka? How do you buy? How do you use it? How do you calculate? Now, these are some of the things that our learners need to do or to go through practical, such that you can be able to assess them very, very well. So, let me give you, sometimes as a teacher, you may not be able to go to the site visit. This is not the only way you can assess that thing. But you can decide that let me come up with what? Let me use simulations. I may not go to Jinja, but I can use simulations and these learners may understand. What do I know? So I'm going to say, now when we go to Jinja, what happens? That water is going to be what? Flowing. So when water is flowing, you tell them that now it's going to be turning the turbines and even you can show them the different energy transformations that do what? That take place. Then now let me turn it on. Okay. Now I've turned it on. Now here the learners can easily relate. That, hey, what happens at Ginger? What happens that the water flowing is going to turn the turbine, the generator, and the rest of that. And at the end, we have light. Now, you can bring the idea through using of simulations. You may not go there, but you can look out for another way, how learners can see what happens the other side with what you can generate. Now, there are different ways you can deliver these things using the technology you have. Then even they can be able to see the different energy transformations that can take place. They can now be able to know what happens that this energy and this. That now they can be able to see that when we have electricity in the bulbs, the electricity is converted into maybe light energy. So they are able to see different things. That here we are going to have the electricity being changed into thermal. Then from thermal, we shall go on to have what we call the light energy. So here children are going to be able to see, but you explain them in words, because here you notice that electrical energy is going to enter. When it reaches the filament, we get thermal energy. Then from thermal energy, we get light energy. Now the learners will be able to see it practically, mean that they can be able to remember such for a longer period of time. So you can now assess them that after this session, you can even now give them the tasks to respond. Remember the first, you are going to display this one such that they receive the information. After receiving, they respond. So here you may ask the question, you may do this and the other. And therefore, even you can ask them, write, make a report, what you have been able to observe. Then they observe that the water turns the turbines to generate electrical energy. Once it enters the bulb, this and this. Even you can now say, now let me even apply another electrical appliance that they use. That no, we have a fan. So then you say, let me now place a fan, such that also they can be able to see the different electrical appliance that we use at home. So that is how we need now to start handling this. That when the learner is receiving information, it is not only about what site visits, it can be another. Then you can bring the different electrical appliance. Even if you bring the one, now here they can be able to see that electrical is turned into electrical. Then from electrical, we get the mechanical what? Energy. Even you may decide that, let me show in case we are boiling water, which energy changes, say, when you are using a kettle. So now, these are the different things that our learners, we need to when we are doing so. Now, so that is when it comes to physics. Now, when it comes to, let me say we have another one. Now, I have another one here. This is history. Now, history, they have something called neocolonialism. Now, I can start at receiving that during the 2023 National Security Symposium held at Kigali, Patrick Roch Otieno Lumumba delivered a presentation on neocolonialism. Now here, what are you going? The learner must receive the information. After receiving the information, give them the task. What do you want these learners to do? Now, what is my task? I've given them a link that click on the link and watch the video presentation. These are the instructions. Or you may tell the learner, in case now you are in class, you have already finished to download the video. Then you can say, watch the video presentation. Then what does it mean? It means that these children are going to come and get that video. Allow me to. They are going to come get this video. Let me get the video. That this is the video here. So the learners are going to come and watch the video about Lumumba on colonization, neocolonialism, and the rest of that. And then in the process of watching the video, they are going to be able to take notes. They are going to be able to learn. Now, the second task, you will tell them that respond to the issues raised in the video presentation on neocolonialism in East Africa. Then from there, you'll check out how are they valuing, how are they organizing, and how is it becoming part of them. So now those are the different things that we can look out for when we are doing with this. So, okay, so I'm going to continue. Now we can have those different what? Different levels. This is for history. That now next time you can use what? A video. You can use a YouTube. Let me say I'm going to talk about CRE or IRE. I can read an article from the what? From the internet. When you go and look at the internet, there is this article for last year where Stanbic Bank made donations to Lukoki Hospital. Now you can bring the article, you can print it out, give it to the children. Here you are looking, how are children going to receive the information? So you give them. Now in case I come to CRE, this is now how I can arrange it. I will tell them that click on the link and read the article. So they will click. In case I have it in printed form, I will say read the article. Then the children will go through the article. Then I'll ask them, respond to the issues raised in the article about generosity and community support. Then they'll go on, and then when it comes to valuing, we say that the learner now must participate in the activity. Now this is where the learner can support others. This is where the learner can do something. Then when it comes to organization, now that is where the learner can now come at school level, organize activities that can, like you have seen children in our schools whereby children go on to support their fellows. They can form a small group at school to raise fees for one of their friends that is struggling. Now, that is under organization. Now, when it comes to characterization, now this is where the learner is going to go organize maybe marathoning, organize his fellows at school, go to the community, they visit the people who are struggling in the community, and they offer some charity. Now, that is what we call characterization. Now, it depends which subject you are dealing with, but there are different levels, and when you are building the scenario should move from the first to the second, the third, like that, so such that now the learners can be able. But one thing you need to know, all these scenario, these ability levels are not carried out at once. There are those that you are going to receive, you are going to observe at a later time. Now, an example is like when it comes to organization and characterization, you may even finish a topic when you have not yet observed the characterization. Now, to observe characterization, imagine a child has made an outreach. Now, that means that the child has reached what? Characterization. A child may organize something for the fellow students and the rest. That means that the child has reached what? Organization. Now, what does it mean? It is not a must for a child to receive all. It's not that a child will receive all at a go. There are some cases where a child is going to stop maybe at valuing. There are some cases where children are going to go up to characterization. So now you need to also ask yourself, has the child reached here? What shows that the child has reached this particular level? So that is under characterization. Now here, you can even come up. Let me say I know still Sarah A and IRE. They have something concerning what? Peace. They have something concerning peace. So when it comes to that, it means that these children, you can still have an article about peace. You know that every 21st of September, we celebrate International Peace Day. So now, if you are handling something concerning justice and the rest, you can bring out these articles. Set your scenarios about this, that let the learners read the papers. Let them read the articles. You print out the article, give them. At the receiving side, they're going to first receive the information about justice, peace, and the rest of that. At the next level, you tell them now it is responding. How are they going to respond? How can they pick information from what they have read? So that is how you can handle that. Let me say it is biology. When it comes to biology, I can start what biology is talking about, the nervous system. Now, I know one of the things they're going to do, it is when you look at the outcome, it is focusing on prevention and the prevention and avoidance of substance and drug abuse. And you know that in our current environment, children are abusing what? Drugs a lot. Now, how are you going to deliver this message? Now you can first look out for a video. It can be an article. It can be a visit, and you say, no, you know what? We are going to visit Butabika, such that we get that first-hand information from those people who have been abusing drugs and substance, such that they can. But also you may know someone in the community, those members that have been abusing this, and maybe they stopped taking it. Or you can watch a video. Now, like, take an example for that case. I think last year I had an interview about substance use and drug abuse. So you can come and get this video here, and they watch, they take notes, the different types of drugs and the rest of that. Now, by doing so, the learners are able to receive the information. From there, you'll ask them to respond to the issues raised. That means that in the process of these learners watching the video, there are other skills that the children are getting. They are learning how to listen and be attentive, because they have to take notes from what they are learning. Then they start now valuing. A child who has started valuing, you'll find them that they are participating in activities that promote prevention and avoidance of substance in schools. You'll find that these children can even write posters. You can find that these children can design different messages. You can find that these children can organize initiatives and the rest of that. Now, that is what we call. Then when it comes to organization, you may find that now they have organized activities that can sensitize others. This is where children now can come at assembly, maybe on Monday, on Tuesday, or they can move from class to class, teaching other people about the dangers of drugs, how to avoid, how to prevent. Then when they reach characterization, this is where even they go to the community. It has become part of them that whenever they see someone taking drugs, they are able to say something. They are able to design the message. They are able to support. So you'll find them that anything, even before they read, before they take any drink, they have to first ask them, which kind of substance are inside here? Maybe they are no drugs. Now, that is what we call this kind of level. So whatever thing you are doing, let these children look at those levels. Design your scenarios from the first to the last level and make sure that the children achieve the learning outcomes that are intended. Then we have another domain we call the psychomotor domain. Now, when we talk about the psychomotor domain, we are looking at the hands-on, the skills that these children can attain using their hands. And now, when we look at this level, I'm going to use these pictures. When you look at the first picture I'm showing you, many times when you are starting to learn something, you always observe. Many of us here, when you are learning how to drive a car, you observed your dad, you were observing the drivers, how they were turning. And even at one point, you could tell them, give me and I try out. Now you have to first observe. You have to first copy what another person is doing. So you watch the instructor. What does it mean? That when it comes to psychomotor domain, the child would always watch what the teacher is doing. They will observe you that the teacher is doing this and the other. In case it comes to experiments, the children will be able to observe the kind of experiment you are working on. So they observe what you are doing. After observing what you are doing, many times children also want to try out, but with your instructions. Now, when it comes to the second level, these learners want to drive the car. They drive the what? The car. But they are following instructions you are giving them. In case it is you are doing a practical, this is where children are working out the practical, but they are following instructions. The days we are before this new curriculum, you'll find that all the practicals we were doing for physics, biology, chemistry, and the rest of that were stopping at this level. Why? Because children were given the instructions on what to do. Now, that is the second level. We call it manipulation. Now, after that level, these children always want to be independent. They don't want your support because they have learned. You have noticed that whenever you teach a child and he learns something very well, he may not need your assistance any further. Now, the third level is what we call the precision. Here, the learner can drive the car very well, safely, without guidance, without giving him the what? The directions. At the third level, the learner now knows that I'm going to take this direction, I'm going to turn like that, like that. Then another level, this is where the learner now can navigate. This is where the learner can go, can pass the traffic, knows what to do on the what? On the road. Can go through the roundabouts, can turn very well, and the rest of that. So here is applying his what? His skills. So here even there is more creativity by him because he has now learned. Then the last level is what we call the naturalization. Now it has become natural. Some of us here have reached this level whereby you feel even you don't need to go to class with notes. That's what we call the naturalization level. But you remember during your first days in teaching, every lesson you used to go for, you used to go with what? With a book. You were still at manipulation level. Now, when you stay longer in the field, time comes when you have reached that point where you feel, even if I don't go with the book, it is natural. Even if they wake you up in the morning, you can go and teach what? A lesson. Now, that's what we call the last level of naturalization. Ask yourself, have the children that have gone through your hands reached the naturalization level? Naturalization level is the highest level where a child is competent. Here, if you find someone who has reached the naturalization level, that person is very happy. Whatever item, whatever thing you said, that child can do. He cannot fail. That's the naturalization what? Level. You know everything. Someone in driving, someone who has reached this naturalization level, you may find him even talking, picking calls and the rest. Much as it is very, very bad. But you'll find that they have reached that level. They are comfortable. They are happy. But you may look at number 3. Because you have just started the process, you are following instructions the way your tutor gave them to you, exactly the way. But at number 4 and 5, you become more creative. Even you may diverge from what you were told previously and you start putting in some creativity. Now, these are the different levels we do have when it comes to psychomotor domain. Now, these are the levels under the psychomotor domain. The first one is what we call the imitation. Under imitation, the learner copies or repeats whatever thing you have demonstrated. In case it is a practical, the learner sees you doing this, he does it. You do this, he does it. You copy, like in case it is mathematics, what you write on board is what the learner writes. That is imitation. They copy exactly what you are demonstrating. When we go to the second level of manipulation, here the learner can perform that skill but using instruction or using guidance. That you as a teacher, you are here and the learner is here. So you give him instruction, do this, the learner does this, do this. So he is following instruction. When it reaches precision, the learner can perform that skill accurately, confidently, and independently. That is precision. He can do it on himself without assistance from anyone. Then when it comes to the articulation, that's where the learner now can combine different skills smoothly and effectively, and he performs the task. So here he can add on more other skills that the learner knows. Then the last one is what we call the naturalization. The naturalization, it is natural, it is automatic. There is a lot of creativity. The learner is consistent, is happy. So that is what we call the naturalization. It is flowing naturally in the blood. In case it is soccer, this is where someone can even pass the ball without looking at the neighbor. This is where someone can do something. That's what we call the naturalization level. Now, looking at the chart, you tell me in the chart, which level are these gentlemen here? Put in the chart. Put in the chat, which level do you think these gentlemen have displayed here are at? Out of those. I want to say, okay. Teacher Robert says naturalization. Very good. That is what? Naturalization. That's why if a child has reached naturalization, you have taught them a topic. Let me say, you have taught them installing and uninstalling. You have taught them aerobics. You have taught them what livestock feeding in agriculture. Once children have reached that level, I want to tell you, they will never panic. Even if you tell them the test is today, they will never panic because it is part of them. Ask yourself, have the children reached that level? Why should the children always panic? If you tell them we have a test, you have scored them very well, you have given them 100, and you are telling them we have a test tomorrow, and they are panicking. What does it mean? It is an indicator they have yet reached the naturalizational level. So naturalization, you are confident. You have seen these border men doing this. Okay, what about that level? Which level could this be? Put in the chat. Which level do you think? Which level do you think this is? Teacher Brian says, manipulation. 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 Because you have said that under manipulation, someone follows the what? The steps. The different steps you have, someone will always follow them the way you have given them. He's still following the instructions. Okay. Now, we have what we call some verbs we use under the psychomotor domain. And when you check out under the different learning outcomes that you have in the syllabus book, you'll find these verbs being used. So whenever you find these verbs being used, you need to know that the domain they are looking out for is the psychomotor domain. What does it imply? It implies that the children must do, the children must write, the children must have hands-on on that particular thing. Okay. Let me give you an example. Take an example. This is FN, Nutrition and Food Technology. When you check out, you will notice that here they want the learner to process milk. To process. When you check the verbs I've showed you, you had something about processing. They want the learner to follow the procedure to process. What does it imply? That the learners must do it practically. They must do it practically. That is the meaning. If it comes to packaging, the learners must package, they must market, and they must sell the product. Now, that means that this is what we call the psychomotor domain. Meaning that whenever you find that, but in the process, like you notice S, which means the skill, S, which means there is a skill, S, which means the skill. But in the process of getting this skill, you must also put in the valuing. You know very well that when you are handling these food items, there is some kind of thing you need always to put into consideration. So it's not just a matter of you working out. Now you must tell them that when you are handling food, this and this. When you are handling this and this should happen. Now that is what we call this kind of domain. So you'll find that when there is a skill and a value, you must take it. You must be very careful that when someone is handling food, you must be very clean. Now, cleanliness, you must first wash your hands. Now, those are what call the values. That wash your hands, you should not do this and the other. So by doing so, you are teaching these children the values. Now, how can you attain this? You may not have a processing machine, but because in this, you'll find that one of the skills you want children to attain is cooperation, collaboration. You may have your neighbor in the community who has a processing machine for milk. Why don't you go and talk to these people? Why don't you have a visit? Now, this is where now site visits are important. Using the video, there are some things that may not be said. Now, you may decide to say that now we shall have a visit to a processing plant that processes milk. Check out around your neighbors. Some of us are in areas where there are very many processing machines. Go and look out for those products. It may not be, you may find some are making yogurt, ghee, and the rest of that. Some of these ones you can make them. You can make yogurt, you can make ghee. So you have to do that. Then how are the learners going to sell them? Then you can prepare a market day at school. You may put them at the school canteen. You may wait for parents' meetings when they are coming, and then the children can sell them. When it comes to ICT, they are doing something concerning spread it. Then you ask yourself, when you check here the learning outcome, you notice that here the children must have some skill. That means that the learner, this learning outcome, when you are handling it, that the children should be able to use advanced tools and features of spreadsheet to process and present data. Now the children must have it done practically. You must now show, they must go through how to have graphs, how to deal with the data. Even here, you can bring in that component that now the learners must know how to analyze the data, to draw graphs, to do this and the other, to put different colors. Now, that is that. So, you need always to check out the learning outcomes. You say skill, ask yourself, can they do any practical? Is there anything they can perform practically on this learning outcome? Then you say yes. In case it comes to geography, and you are looking at population and urbanization, look out which one has the skill, that there is a skill here, that when you continue, there is a skill here. What does the skills tell them? That you use statistics and graphs to show rapid urban development. That means that this is something learners need to do. practically, they must draw graphs, they must be able to interpret, give them statistics. You go to WBOS, get the information, the statistics for different districts, let the learners know the statistical graphs they have to come out, and let them be able to interpret. When it comes to locate and name some major urban areas in Africa, that means that here you must provide the data and then the children must be able to locate. That means there is something that the learner have to do practically. What shows that this area is having a bigger population. Now, go back to the learning outcomes. Look out for those particular learning outcomes and then you identify. And now, these are the things that determine which kind of domain to deal with. Let me give you a framework. Now, whenever you are starting to handle the CAI, always come up with a framework which has the competence you are going to deal with, which has what they learn. Now, when you find out that carries out an ecological study and investigation, this is biology, then you need to know that there is something practical that children must do. That if you look at geography, the learner must interpret geographical information, meaning that as a teacher, you need to look out for the data. And you need to know that the learner must be able to draw these graphs and interpret. Then when you look at English, the learner must be able to speak or sign information, meaning that it requires the children to speak. In case there's an interview, children must undergo through the interview such that they gain those particular skills. Now, like I told that, not all learning outcomes are going to be captured, but you'll find that there are specific ones that they may capture. For math, you may find that these are the ones they have captured. When it comes to biology, this is the learning outcome. Geography, this is the learning outcome. You'll find for English, one, they must present themselves well for job interview. What does it mean? As a teacher handling this subject, this is where creativity will come in. Why? You are going to ask the school, now on such and such a day, can we have children present themselves the way they would have presented themselves for interview? This is where you can tell them that on such and such a day, we are going to be doing our CAI. Let each and every one of you have a dress, have your clothes, anything that you would use. Imagine you want to go for the interview for that particular career you are pursuing. So this is where now children can dress. You allow them to dress in their suits, to dress very well, like they have those Sunday wears at school. Let them dress like that. But also as a teacher, you can plan early that next time we have this topic, you can tell them early that as you come back next time, come with clothes that you are going to use for your interviews, such that when they are coming, they present themselves very well, such that now you look at how can these children present themselves for interview. How is their dress code? How is the body language? How are they responding? Now that is what you have to do. Not for you now to say, they will come in their uniform. Let us be now more practical. How do you present yourself when you're going for interview? Do you put on the uniform? No. Let them now wear, such that you can be able to assess that, this child is responsible, this and this. Because the way you put on communicates better. That if I find you putting on a suit, I know you're going for a serious activity. Maybe you're going for this and the other. So you need to know, because the dressing will communicate. So there you are assessing the communication skills. Communication is not about talking and listening, but also your body language matters. How do they present themselves verbally? Mean that at this point, the teacher will carry on interview. You'll have your children, you'll have your panel on the interview. This is where now you can have 2 or 3 teachers of English come into the class and the learner enters for an interview. You start firing the questions, fire the questions, such that you see how is this learner able to express himself. Can he clarify on matters? Can he, such that now you can be able to assess those particular skills. So whenever you find that the learning outcomes 1 or 2 or 3 are captured, make sure you dive deep, you unpack them, such that whatever thing has been mentioned can be obtained from the children. Even here, you ask them to present the documents, such that the learners now know that when I go to an interview, this is what they ask, this is what they ask, this is how I should present myself. Otherwise, in the future, because now in the future, that's what they have to do. In case it is math, Then also you need to look out for all these things that can now, whatever scenario I'm coming up with, are they able to apply the Pythagorean theorem? Are they able to find the angle between a line? Are they able? Then you look out for a scenario. Which scenario can bring out this idea very well? Then you know, the scenario I can bring can be in roofing, that when I'm roofing a house, I can be able to ask the children to determine, because when I'm looking at the angle between a line and a plane, then you know that this is how I can ask this. Angle between two planes, that maybe I'll ask them the angle here, such that the learners may be able to find it. In case I'm looking for Pythagorean theorem, then maybe I can ask them the distance here and here, and then I know they will use Pythagorean theorem to find this and this. So you need to ask them such things. So that means the scenario you are coming up with, it must be able to promote creativity when it comes to math. In case it comes to biology, then you need to know that I must have mathematical computation. And when you look at mathematical computation here, you ask yourself, can the children be able to sort, analyze data? Can they be able to gather data? Those are the things you look out for. Yes. Here, when it comes to mathematical computation and the ICT proficiency, even here you can go deeper. Ask yourself, can they be able to use the internet to get the population for this? Can they be able to use those graphical tools to draw the pie charts and then such things? Those are the things that you are going to be looking out for when you are dealing with this. When it comes to English and you are looking for communication, then you look out for those particular skills within the communication. And one of the skills you need to look out for, communication. Are these learners able to listen? That when you you ask a question, are they able to listen attentively and interpret, or with comprehension? Are they able to talk confidently? Because those are the things. Are they able to explain their ideas? Are they able to read accurately? Are they able to present themselves? Then those are the different things that these children can learn. Now, how can you come up with this? Take an example. I can start with English as a subject. You know, when you look at UBOS, their website, they published jobs on the 5th of May 2026. And what does it mean? Now, as a teacher, this is one of the scenarios you can develop, because when you look at what they require, it fits within the senior. For they said the minimum requirement is USCE, UCE, and the rest of that. That means that you can develop a scenario about this and then tell the children to read the advert. After reading the advert, give them the instructions on what you want them to extract from the advert. You ask them to identify the kind, because whenever you receive an advert, you need to know what is the job title. Then after that, you need also to know what qualifications do they need. Then you tell them now to extract all that information from there. Take an example. This is for the English. I can ask under imitation. That under imitation, what do I want? That under imitation, remember, the learner copies, the learner can mimic, the learner can reproduce whatever thing we have told you. Now here you can notice that many times when they're passing adverts, they use radios. So like you can go practical. So as a teacher, you may record this given advert when it is being passed on. When you come to class, you play the advert and ask the learners, now, can you tell me what you have heard from from the advert? Can you pass on that information, the announcement, to your classmates? Then here you are testing. Remember, you have to test for communication skills. Now that means here, when you play the audio, you are testing out for, are learners able to listen attentively? That is what you are assessing. Can the learners be able to talk confidently to their classmates about the what? This. Now, you know that, yes, that one is being captured. Then you come to the second one. Now, responding. When it comes to responding, here learners follow instructions because you are still guiding them on what to do. Now here you must specify, what do you want the children to get from that advert? What are those specific things you want this child to pick? Then here you can give them the advert to read for themselves. You can you can give them the advert, then they read through and then they pick. Then they are going to present what they have come. So indirectly now here you're asking yourself, can these learners be able to read accurately and fluently? Can the learners be able to write and present coherently their work. So those are the different things you are looking. Then from there, you go to the next level of precision. Now, here you are looking at the learner. Can this learner be able to do this thing independently without my support? Can the learner be able to pass on that message to his fellows in the coherent way? Then you look at articulation, or then after you look at naturalization. Now, when it comes to articulation, you may look at a situation whereby this particular child can go to the fellows, to other classes, and pass on the message to the community. Then when it comes to naturalization, this is where now the learner you feel is confident. You feel that whatever interview the learner can go on, he can be ready. He can present himself very well without any fear, without any panic. That's what we call the naturalization. This is where now, as a teacher, the learner now can apply online for interview. Now, this is why you need to go practical. Take these children to an online platform, now like Ubos, because whenever you read these adverts, they will go on to tell you that now apply online. This is where, as a teacher, you are going to take these learners. Now, at naturalization, a learner can apply online, upload his or her documents, and do everything on his own without your guidance. Now, that is what we call a complete learner under the psychomotor domain. So the same thing, in case it comes to math, and you are dealing, let me say things like, I know this time they are going to do things concerning what? Matrices. Let me check. No, I need matrices. Let me first pick the matrices. In case it is you are going to deal with things concerning matrices, then this is where now you need to ask yourself, can this learner, you start with the first level, can the learner be able to summarize the matrices? Can this learner be able to do this and the other? So you start looking out for those particular things that the learner can be able to summarize the what? The matrices. That the learner can now apply that knowledge from one level to the other. Now, those are the things that we are going to be looking out for whenever we are dealing with this. So those are the things that we are supposed to be doing when we are coming up with the CAI. So let me first open all, and then I share my screen again. Okay. Okay. So in case I'm doing in case I'm dealing with math, this is how I can set for my psychomotor domain. And I know what skill am I looking for. I'm looking at for cooperation and self-directed learning. Then I'm going to come and I start pinching. Now, this is how you are going to set your document, dear teachers. You are going to have your continuous assessment item, put the class, the term, the subject, topic, the competency, generic skill, and then the learning domain. Now, like when you look here, these are the different ability levels from imitation, manipulation, precision, articulation. Now, you're going to first develop the first one, imitation. The learner is doing exactly what you are doing. So now, under here, you may ask the task can be under that one after setting your scenario, imitate, copy, and do what the welfare teacher is doing to assist the prefects. Then now, when it comes to the second one, you are going to give instruction to the learner that read and summarize the information, form matrices, this and this, go on to add this and this. So state the order of this and this. So here you give them the instructions on what exactly to do. But as you move from one level to another, you are going to keep on complicating, like adding on the level that under precision. Now, in case here it was just about addition of a 2 by 2, here maybe you gave him the instruction, you wanted him to find the order and the rest of that. Then for the next level, you can go on now and bring in maybe the multiplication, where you have where the learner needs the idea of multiplying the matrices. Then you can bring in the idea of money as well, and then you check out. So that is how you need to keep on developing those ones, the different scenarios. In case it is this is what now, this is physics, then also I will develop it like this, and then at the end I can come and put the different tasks. So you can develop it like this, but if you want, you can develop it in the landscape format and then have the children. In case it is English, then I can develop it like this. The same to all other subjects. Then the learner can know the different what? The different levels. So that is how basically we can do some of these particular things. So when it comes to developing the scenarios, like I've said, let them be real life. Let them be things that these learners can see naturally happening in real life. So that is how we are supposed to have these scenarios. Okay, let me share my screen and then we continue. So like I've said, in case you have those adverts brought in to the learners. So this is what I was telling you when it comes to English. Now, this term for each of the subjects you are handling, let me say you are handling senior 4, these are the topics where you are going to do the CAIs. Mean that in your planning as a person, you need to plan for these particular topics. These are the topics for your different subjects. When it comes, these are more topics, mean that you need to plan, and I always advise that if these are the topics that you are going to carry on the CAI, remember this is something that you are not going to do one day, 1 week. It can take you 1 month, 2 months. If you are scheming and you notice that this particular topic does not have an effect on any other, then start with this particular what? Topic. Then after finishing this topic, then you'll have enough time for you to observe the children, because some are going to be attained even after finishing the what? The topic. When it comes to senior 3, these are the topics we are supposed to be carrying on. When it comes to senior 3, these are the topics we are supposed to be carrying on. So those are the different topics that we are supposed to be carrying on. Now you'll find that some of these topics, let me say now, like when it comes, let me say physical education, you'll find that now this is under psychomotor domain. What are you going to do? That means that you are going to develop your scenarios rotating about that. That the first thing, when it comes to, let me say, the imitation, what are you going to do? Remember, the child must see what you are doing. You are going to go to the swimming pool, demonstrate the activity, and let the learner repeat what you are doing. Or show them a video and go to the swimming pool, let them do. But for practicals, some of these things, it is better for learners to see what you are doing other than watching the video. Now, this is where you are going to go practical. Go in water, dive there, and let the learners see. When it comes to, let me say, agriculture, where you are dealing with livestock feed making, that is where you are going to go. The learner says, and then they do. That when we are mixing feeds, we have to put protein source, we need to put a carbohydrate, we have to balance the calciums and the rest of that. Then when it comes to, let me say, which one? Maybe drama, poetry, you'll find that that is still practical. Let the learners go in for those things. Do as they do. When it comes to physics, lenses and optical instruments, maybe it is about finding the focal length and the rest of that. Here, touch the instrument, let the learners see what you are touching. You tell them, put this one here, do this and the other. If for these ones, you can even play for them the video. You tell them, do what you are seeing in the video. So they have to follow every step they are seeing in the what? In the video. Then from there, give them the instructions to do what they have. So these are the different topics that we are going to do this term for our different subjects. Okay, now how do we score the CAIs? Now, when it comes to scoring, let me use geography, but I can use any other subject. Let me say this is geography. What am I going to do? You are going to write your center number here. Let me say it is U. Let me say 2026. This is my center number. Write the year that this is 2026. Write the learner's name. That who's the learner? The learner is Kaziba Steven. Write the learner's ID. Now, this learner's ID are given. So when you check the data that they sent to UNEB after registration, this number is there. So you write that number there. Now, after writing all, you are noticing that I'm using a red pen. Why a red pen? This is an indicator that it is the teacher who is doing the work, not the students. Otherwise, when you use your what your red, the other colors, it means that the student may be the one. When you use blue, someone may think that it is the students. So allow me to write here that this is you 2026, and I've said this is 2026. Put the learner's ID. It is always given, and then put the learner's what? The learner's name. Now after that, let me say you're going in for the first one. It is about imitation. Now, this is where the learner does exactly what you are doing. Or that this is where the learner says something and then he does. This is where the learner copies. Now, let me say you have given them a scenario, or you have given them a context, you have given them a video. You ask yourself, as the learner being able to identify geographical information to represent, let me say you have played for them a video whereby the chairman of the WUBOS was presenting the population for the Ugandans in the different districts and the rest of that. Then you say, he has been able to identify, he has been able to identify the data. Can he be able to study the data? Then you tick. Then you check out the graphical thing that maybe has come up with a pie chart to represent the data and the rest of that. Does he have a title? Then you say yes. Does he determine and use the? And then you tick whatever thing you have been able to see. Then after, you are going to count and say, how many does he have at imitation? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then under subject competence, you will put here 8. Then you come under the skills. Then you ask yourself, has he been able to use numbers and measured? That yes. Interpreting and interrogating? That yes. Can he justify using mathematics? Has he been able to use technology to create, manipulate, and process information? We have not used. Has he used this? That no. Then here you put what? Put 3. Then now you may find that this first one, you may do it today. You'll find that in this second one, some of these 2 levels can be done almost at the same time. But you may find sometimes it can be done at a later time, depending on how you're progressing with the topic. In case, let me say, I can have another one. Let me say this is ICT, Senior 3, and I'm looking at spreadsheet. Then you are going to give the instruction to the children. What are you going to be doing as a teacher? You are going to go and open your spreadsheet. So now in the let me say I'm going to go, I open my Excel. Then you tell them, open your spreadsheet. Then as a teacher, you are going to move around and check, have they opened their Excel? That yes. Then I'll come here and I say that now this learner, I can locate the tool on his PC. Then I go, does he follow the correct sign format of the function tool while processing data? Then you come here and check. Can he be able to collect errors obtained while using that? Yes. Can data? Then you keep on what? Ticking. But here, remember now, you need to be seeing what the learner is doing here to be able to tick. So whatever step you go on, you keep on ticking up to when you finish. Now you may find that the first thing here, the learner will follow whatever thing you are doing. You tell them, let's go here, go here, go here, go here. They follow whatever you are doing. When it comes to manipulation, this is where you're going to give them a paper having an Excel number. Let me say this is the Excel number with instructions on what to do. Then you are going to move around and ask, has he identified the tool to use? Yes, that he has been able to locate Excel. Has he followed it? Yes, that is now able to process the data, there is addition data, and the rest of that. Has he been able to collect errors obtained? And then you look out for why that yes. So that is how you are going to do this scoring. What does it mean? Now, at the end of the day, after you are attaining this can be attained within a month or even plus. So after, you are going to come and count the number of these indicators. Like when you check here, these are the indicators that we do have. Let me say this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here the maximum is 5. Here the maximum is what? 5 for the first level. You come to manipulation, 2, 4, 5. The maximum here is 5. Then when it comes here, 2, 4, 5. The maximum is also 5. You go to the next one. These are 2, 4, 5. and here also you have 5. Then you come here, these are 2, 4, 5. Then the next one also has 5. So this one has 5, this one has 5. 2, 4, 5, and these are 2, 4, 5. Now, you are going to add the total you have under subject competence, that there are 5 times 5, that is 25. Then under the generic skills, you also have 25, because when you add all of them. Now, after obtaining those ones, you are going to ask yourself, what is the maximum total score for all? That the maximum is going to be 25 plus 25. So this will give you 50. Now, after obtaining the 50, you are going to come and ask yourself, how many has this child been able to get? That when you check out all the things that we have been able to tick, let me say, looking at this, that maybe the child has got this and this, you'll add up whatever the child has got. Let me say the child has got, let me say, 26. Then you say 26 divided by 50 times 100. So when you say 26 divided by 50 times 100, that is, I think this is 52%. So this is the 52%. Now this is what you are going to write and give to the DOS. In case, let me say the child gets 15 out of maybe 50, then you say 15 out of 50, which is 30%. In case the child gets 48, then you say 48 out of 50, then times what? 100. So when someone gets 48, that is the 96%. So that is the mark you put at the end of the day. So that is how you are going to obtain what you call the achievement. But what do you need to note? That when you print, when you do this on paper, you may not be able to do it alone. Number one. Number two, if you do this thing as a person, you're going, like when you print those papers the school is giving you, you may easily notice it. So I'm going to encourage you. I'm going to encourage that if possible, you can form books. You can, as a school, you can print out, you can make booklets. Like this is a booklet for one of the schools. Then you come here and put and you can say, this is a school. You say now this is help schools. Then you come here and say whose name is this, that maybe this is Kaziba Stephen. And now which class is this? This is maybe senior 3. Which term? That maybe this is term 2. Then every teacher, let every teacher have a booklet that if I'm going for math, I'll go with this book. If I'm going for this, I go with that, like that. So such that you have your records kept very well. Otherwise, when you decide to have a paper, the paper can easily get lost. And you can make it smaller, that this book, let it have around 40 children. In case you have 200 children, then you know how many books you need. But you can form and you know that I will need 5 booklets. And then you say, if we have 200 children and then streams, every stream maybe has 100, then you know that every stream will need 2.5. So you have the booklet, and then even you can come up with a summary on the first page here, where you have the children's name and then the summary of the different competences that the children have been able to attain. Now, what are you noticing? That as an individual person, as one person, you may not be in position to do this CAI as an individual. So what do we encourage? That work as a team. As teachers, you must also collaborate. This is where, in case you are going to observe the first ability level, let me say you are going to observe manipulation. This is where now you are going to inform your department. And some of these levels, one thing you need to note that it shouldn't be a subject specialist, that a math teacher should observe math. No, you may notice that some of these ones, they may not require a subject specialist. You may notice that English person is free, physics is free, this is free, and you have about 5 or 10 teachers that are free during that hour. Now you need to work as a team and say all these people are free, and the level I'm going to observe is the first level. That just, let me say, like the first levels are easy because those ones, they don't require a lot of subject knowledge. So you get all these teachers, you tell them that we are going to observe. Then these teachers come during your lesson, and then you say, now what are we going to do? Every teacher is going to have 15 children to observe in the 40 minutes. You give the children the worksheet, and then the children start doing the work. So let me say you are observing a given level. In case the level you're going to observe has a lot of subject knowledge, then that means that you can organize a day where those different teachers that teach the same subject with you are free, get all of them, and then bring them onto board. You tell them, you know what, I have this and this, can we go and observe? Then they can. In case some of us are near other schools, you can even invite your neighbors there. You tell them, you know what, Mr. Guna, Mr. San, so today I have observation. Can you come and support me? He comes to your school, he supports you. Then when it reaches his turn, you go and also support him. So here you need to involve, you need to bring in cooperation. You need to collaborate, not as an individual. Otherwise, when you do it as an individual, you are not going to be effective because these children are many. You are not going to be able to observe all of them at the same time. So it will take you time, and you may start doing you may find yourself that you are not able to observe all of them at a go. So I encourage that let's involve in a lot of teamwork. Allow me to say that we are going to end here, and then I'm going to pick on questions. So in case you have a question, you may raise your hand and then you ask. Okay, I'm going to start with Teacher Jackson. Teacher Jackson, you can unmute.
Thank you, Mr. Kaziba. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Will Jackson from Soga High School, Kamuli, a teacher of biology and physical education. First of all, I would like to thank you for your effort and the time you have given to us. Indeed, it is not a loss. I have here 2 questions. I've finished to construct the items. Is it good to give these items to the learners once?
Okay.
Another question, you have talked about writing using a red pen. What if I write the names of the students or the learners using a blue pen? Will it also bring a lot of assumption that they are the learners who did? Then this issue of teamwork, indeed, it is very good. I can recommend it because when the population is too big, other students even don't value other teachers who don't go and teach them. So if we have this teamwork, it will bring more respect to other teachers who don't teach other classes. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, teacher. The first question on whether to give the children all the scenarios at once, I would say that it's not advisable because these skills are attained at different levels. And number 2 is that when you give them these scenarios at once, children may go and start making research, getting the answers, and the rest of that. So meaning that when you are assessing the last level, let me say it is the naturalization level, and you have already given them the children the questions, they will give you the answer. But now you'll not be able to know whether these children can actually do something, because at naturalization level, whether they have woken you up in the morning or evening, you must be in position to do that thing there and then. So for you to be able to see that, you have to give them you go step by step, that when you finish this, I will give them. When I have finished this, I give them. So always better you do it. Let me say, in case the lesson is today, you do it during the lesson. You let the children access those items or the scenarios during the lesson, the actual lesson, but not prior. But you inform them that tomorrow we are going to be doing observation for this topic. And then they will know that now this is what we are going to do. Then 2, whether to use a red pen or a blue pen. Now, I would advise that we go in for a red pen, whatever thing we are going to be using. Why? Because students can, when you use a blue pen, and maybe God forbid you forget your book, a child may just go and change everything. But when you have a red pen, remember children do not have a lot of access to red pen, but also it is communicating that the work that has been done, it is through or it is by the teacher. Then the issue of the issue of teamwork, thank you for the supplement. It is really very crucial where we are. Let's work as a team. Let's work as a team such that we can be able to achieve a lot. Yeah. Otherwise, if you work as an individual, it's not going to support you a lot. Okay. So let me have, someone was asking in the chat as I get to another person, what is the difference between a CAI and a CAF? CAI is continuous assessment item. What you give the children is like the instructions, is like a scenario that you give. Then when it comes to a CAF is an instrument that guides you as a teacher on what subject competences to assess every term. So we obtain this from the learning outcomes in the curriculum. That's why I was showing you the different learning outcomes, and I was showing you how these CAIs come about. So CAF is just an instrument that guides you on what subject competences to assess every term. And when we are developing, let me say, the CAI. So the CAI, you'll write the theme, you'll have the topic, the learning outcomes, you're going to have the competence, and then you are going to go on and divide the different learning abilities into different domains. So it's just something that guides you on what to assess. In other words, even if you do not have this checklist, so in other words, for us to get the checklists, we get them from the CAI. So the CAI, to get the checklists, we get them from the CAF. A CAF you can refer to is a CAF is like the scheme of work. Let me use that language. CAF is the scheme of work. A CAI is the lesson plan. Let me use that. So it is what is going to guide you to develop the items. Okay. Okay, let me have another question. Yes, speaker of UPS.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Kaziba, for whatever you're doing for us. My challenge I'm finding, and maybe I may also request for advice, is that in private schools, you find that the teacher has over 30 periods on a timetable, and it is difficult to find any teacher who is free, because they are also looking at minimizing the expenditure and therefore maximizing the profits. Now, for that matter, therefore, how can we be advised maybe to assess those learners alone, because you find that they are very big numbers without help of any other teacher? Because personally, I recognize teamwork, it is very good, but it is very difficult in many schools, especially those which are looking at maximizing profits. Thank you so much. Another one, it is a request that maybe if you can access a document of CAF, that is continuous assessment framework, you also share it with us. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much. I will share the CAF. I will share the CAF, the framework, such that you can utilize it. I will share. I think after the session, but maybe to throw more light, the CAF is the one that guides you on item development. The CAF is the one that helps you to determine which domain you are going to assess. The CAF is the one that will guide you on how to conduct the assessment, which class and the term, and then also to provide you with which kind of competence and generic skills. In other words, I know you may not have seen the CAFs being developed. Why? Now, for UNEP to come up with the checklists, for UNEP to come up with those checklists you are seeing, they use the CAF. So the CAF was used by UNEP to come up with all those checklists you are seeing, to know that now this is what we are going to assess, this is what we are going to assess, this is what we are going to assess. But also when you are developing the items, you need it. You need it such that you can come up with it. So I will share it with you at a later time. Then when it comes to the big numbers, I feel this is where we need to collaborate as schools, but also to have our administrators in school involved. Because if the administrators within our institution can understand the magnitude of the work we have, then I know they will be in better position to understand. So maybe I know we have some ministry officials on call. I know he will say something about it, more so concerning the manpower with the private institutions and government institutions. But I'm going to advise that we need to talk to our administrators to see how our administrators can understand the kind of work we have on the table. Because if they understand, then they can be able to get more manpower. But as a teacher as well, in case the numbers are very big, I'm going to advise number one, have that topic that you are going to assess as one of the first topics that you are going to have. Number two, you create the time outside maybe the timetable. What does it mean? That you are going to invest more time if you are to do it very well. Mean that you can decide that maybe I'll use the time after lessons, maybe I'll get a Sunday, I'll get this day and this day. Then I think that one can support. But if we can work together with administrators to know the challenge we have at hand, then they can be in better position to support us. Yes, Teacher Musa.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you.
I've been following so closely since you started, and I just wanted to appreciate you.
Okay, I'm humbled, sir. Okay, thank you. Teacher Charles. Okay, I failed to get Teacher Charles. Okay, Teacher Muto.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kaziba. Thank you very much for this wonderful initiative. This is Mr. Bwete Joram Imran, Teacher Muto, a chemistry mathematics teacher. Thank you very much for that wonderful presentation. My question is, some schools, we see that they send like checklist for CAI, and you see that some topics are very wide. For example, last term, if I can give an example, we had carbon in life in chemistry senior 3, and you see that it is a topic wide, and by the time we finish complete all the levels to see that a learner can go and fulfill all the 5 levels, you may be caught by time. Because we saw the last term was 1 week, which may give us a headache to complete in time, and we say that we assess our learners accordingly. How can I minimize or can I utilize time effectively to see that I come up with CAI assessment in time? Thank you very much, and may God bless you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I agree that some topics are surely wide. But one of the techniques, like I've said, that for if you find that that topic you're going to assess is can be done without affecting others, I would advise that you start with that topic first. Number two, when it comes to some topics, we need to always go through the syllabus book. Some topics in some of the let me say the books we're using, they are made to be very, very wide. Yet, let me now say like carbon in life. I know carbon in life has about 30 periods. Now, what can you do? You have to, before the term starts or before you start handling that topic, you need to plan very well how many periods you have. Let me say you have 4 periods or 3 periods for chemistry. You need to sit down and then divide those the periods with the time that is available. Then after dividing, then you can time very and say that on such a day, this is what I need to know. For such a day, this is what I need to do. And now you'll notice that for chemistry, let me say for carbon in life, one of the learning outcomes tells us that the children should be in position to recognize the diversity of common compounds in living things and the rest of that. You'll find that at that level, there is a skill that children have to attain. Now, you know that if I reach that skill, I need to emphasize, so you can do some observations from there. As you continue, you are going to reach where we have appreciate biogas in carbon-based fuel using for cooking, meaning that when you reach that learning outcome, there is something you need to do. Then that means that also you can make some observation. So you need to ask yourself, which learning outcomes within the syllabus will support me to attain or to observe these children, such that when you reach that learning outcome, you do your checklist, but not to wait at the end of the topic, of the whole topic, or maybe during some time, but identify such that those particular what? Those particular topics, those particular learning outcomes that the syllabus wants, because you know that under the what, you'll find that your CAI for that term required the child to be able to know the process of making soap detergents from natural fats and oils, but also to appreciate the soap thing. So I expect that for you to be able to do that, look at the syllabus, look at where is soap, such that you plan very well that by the time you reach that, because I know it is among the last learning outcome, that so you plan better such that by the time you reach that learning outcome, you know what to look out for exactly. But you need, if you can plan better, most of for those long topics, to know that every learning outcome should correspond to a learning activity. Every learning outcome, that is a subtopic, and then you can be able to do it in that particular format. But in case, let me say, you can work still with your what? With the school and maybe the head of department, something like that. Because also the time you have matters a lot. Because if you find that the time you have can only enable you to cover one topic, then there is also a problem somewhere that you need to work out. But let's learn how to divide the 30 periods that are, or any number of periods that are given to a given topic, to see how we can fit within it. But remember, this is a continuous process, that as you start this learning outcome on how to make soap, you are going to make your observation. By the time you reach to making the real soap, you can make. But even if you start another topic when you have not assessed all the what? All the things, then it is also okay, because like I've said, that some of these levels will be assessed even after finishing the topic. Now, like for carbon, you could even find yourself that you can assess the last level at the end of the term. When they have that time, you tell them, everyone, I want you to make soap. So you find them that everyone can make up his own soap, something like that. Okay. Let us have Teacher Brian or Teacher Robert.
Okay, thank you very much. A good afternoon to you all. Thank you so much, Mr. Kaziba, for this wonderful period that you have given to us. For me, I would like to appreciate, because sincerely we have got some good idea that we shall go and apply down there. I am Brian Kunya from Vision Land SS in Gokonjiro. I'm a teacher of biology and chemistry. Now, on addition of the appreciation that I've passed so far, I don't know whether you have handled this. This is just a request, because I've benefited from today's session, but there is a humble request. There are some simple projects that we need to do per subject, at least those simple projects that are supposed to be carried out either in senior 1 or senior 2 before the students go for their individual projects. then to some of us, we might need to know the basics, and then some ways of how to properly handle them, and that is why I'm requesting, in case you haven't conducted it yet, you also create for us some time, and then you take us through what is required for a teacher to take their students in those group or the simple projects before their students are exposed to the individual projects of UNEP. That is just my request. I will be grateful if at all we get that session. Otherwise, I'm pleased with today's session. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Teacher Brian. Now, the projects we are talking about are called simple and routine projects. Now, those projects, we have to do what we call project-based learning. So it is an approach of learning that we are supposed to employ when we are handling this particular topic, or whatever topic you are handling. That within the syllabus, there are some topics that where you can use those approaches such that you can help. But the approach we always start with a driving question, which driving question guides the children on what to come up with. Yeah, but I think when time allows in the future, we shall have a session more so on project-based learning. I know we have had one, I think it was last year, Mr. Matthias, but I think we shall have another one. But when you go to your syllabus of biology, chemistry, wherever you are seeing an S, it means that there is something practical. There is a project that the children can do. Wherever you are seeing S, it means there is something. Let me say, in case you are handling carbon in the environment in senior 2, you'll find that one of the learning outcomes there, it is about that the children must understand the process of making charcoal, but recognize that the use of charcoal as a fuel, you'll find that there's something there children can do practically. When it comes to understand the origin of hard water in limestone, the children, and how to investigate how it can be softened, there is a project they can do there in the practical sense. So I think we shall have a session on project-based learning and how to develop those simple and routine projects. But simple and routine projects are just done to support the child to understand a given learning outcome, to understand the content more. That's why we do them. That whatever you are doing, there is something the children can do practically, come up with a product, come up with a demonstration, come up with a sensitization message, come up with a skit, come up with a prototype, but practically. Okay. Yes, Teacher Sari?
Thank you so much for the presentation, Mr. Stephen. Yeah, I appreciate how you personally. I have gained a lot from the start when you started with sharing the different levels, and I'm just expectant to pass on the knowledge to my fellow teachers. So I have two concerns here, and the first concern is about whether it is a must. For example, like in a school where I teach, senior 4 candidates are 150. So my point of concern is it a must for every learner to have an independent checklist or that observation checklist like for the subject? Or there is a provision where if they are 150, maybe I can group them like in clusters of 5, so that I can easily carry out the observation at the different levels, as you say. Second question is about
is there a possibility where I can use the different activities of integration? Because realistically, I always go through some and they can easily assess some levels like imitation and the manipulation and some other levels like precision. So is there a possibility where I can use a sub-activity of integration to assess a particular level? Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Now, number one, the checklist is individual. So every child must have his or her own checklist. Because when you are observing the child, you observe him as an individual. The skills that you have are not the same skills that another person may have. So remember, each one of us here has his own skills. So the skills cannot be the same. So we cannot group the children. We can group them when they are doing work or when they are doing something. But when you are assessing them, you assess them as individual. Yes, because each of them is unique. Every person is unique in his own way. So they cannot be scored. Then for the checklist, like I've advised, that you form booklets. You get booklets like I've showed you like on my screen. This is a booklet that can take on 40 learners. So if at all you have 150, for you can say, I will make a booklet having how many? Maybe 50 learners, depending on the streams you have. Then that means that it will be easy to keep. Then also I saw in the comments someone saying, but checklists are men and the rest of that. You form booklets, have a booklet like this one. Then you know that it is going to be easy even when it comes to keeping. But whenever you have a paper, the paper can easily get lost. Then how long should we keep this checklist? You have to keep them until the results of the children are out, because anything can happen. Anything can happen. So keep them up to the end. You just need to be very organized, have your work kept somewhere, and everything will be very fine. Then can I use the activities of integration? The answer is no. Activities of integration have assessed different things. Activities of integration assess, let me say, two-thirds of all the learning outcomes in a given topic. While you'll find that a checklist is assessing just one. It is assessing just one learning outcome. Number two, activities of integration assess the cognitive domain. They are assessing the knowledge, the understanding, evaluation, applicability, and the rest of that. So for them, they are assessing the cognitive ability. These checklists are aimed at assessing the affective and the psychomotor domain. And that's why I've been showing that you may have 5 learning outcomes, but you'll find that it is only one learning outcome that is assessing the what? That is assessing that particular domain. That's why when we are assessing these activities of integration, we always tell you that as long as the activity of integration can cover 2/3, then that is good, because you may set the activity of integration and all learning outcomes are not captured. Mean that some of those learning outcomes that are not captured, there is another domain where that you can use to assess them. So the answer is that we are not using the activities of integration because they test for another domain and they are not testing for this. Activities of integration are mainly testing for the knowledge. They're mainly testing for understanding. Yeah, that's what they mainly test for, but not this particular one. Okay. Yes, Teacher Priscilla? Okay, I've failed to get Teacher Priscilla. Teacher Norbert? Okay. Teacher Priscilla, go on, or Teacher Norbert?
Thank you, Mr. Kaziba.
Yes.
Mr. Kaleman Norbert, teacher of mathematics from Jagenda Memorial CD School, Kalangala. First and foremost, I want to appreciate you for this wonderful guidance you have given to us. And mine is a very simple question. As we have seen that for every level we have a scenario accompanied with a task. How should the scoring guides or the scoring rubric for these scenarios look like? Should we score them following race, or we score them following the order we follow as we're scoring the end of term assessments? Thank you very much.
Okay. Now, when you are scoring, them, you have a checklist that you are following. Now, these ones, we have to follow the checklist. Now, it will depend on the kind of the task. Like, let me use the driving. Now, for when it comes to the driving, the driver, when he's scoring you, he will say, now, does the person know how to put to turn? Yes, then you tick. Does this child know how to step on the brake? Yes, then you tick. So when we are scoring, our grid follows what the child can do. So for you, observe, in case now it is mathematics, you are going to ask yourself, from the scenario I have given this child, can he be able to extract the matrix from it? That yes, then you tick. Can this child be able to add the matrix or to apply operation? That yes, he has been able to apply the operations. Can the child make a conclusion or a decision basing on the answer he has got? That yes, then you score. So that's how you can have your scoring grid. The scoring grid is dependent on what the child has come up with. It is dependent on what you are looking out for from this child. In case you have given a scenario and the task wants some answers, it is okay. You can sit down and come up with the expected what? Responses. But you're ticking or the scoring things you are putting, they must depend on the checklist. That you go to the checklist, look out for what is on the checklist. That when it comes to, let me say when it comes to now, like dimensions, you are going to check yourself that you have given him a scenario, but what are you looking for? Can the learner be able to identify appropriate materials? That yes. Can he be able to measure? That yes. Now, for you to assess the measurement and the lines or the angle, that means you have to sit down, calculate the angle, look at the angle the child has given you and what you have. But there is nothing like using the codes, like the codes we use. No. We don't use the other codes. We use that. Let me use I, let me use M, manipulation, and the rest of that precision. No, here follow each thing. Maybe let me share something here shortly. But you follow the checklist. Just follow the checklist. Whatever thing you are doing, you must follow the checklist. The answer, because here you'll notice that there is no like answer. But you look at the behavior. Remember here we are assessing the behavior, we are assessing the skills. We are not assessing let me say, the answer and the rest of that. Like when you check here on this checklist, this is for math. You are going to ask yourself, can the learner, let me say I am using this level 2. Can the learner, as the learner summarize, you look at the work the learner has done. That yes, that the learner has been able to summarize the math. Then that means you are going to tick that one. That yes, the learner has been able to summarize the matrices. Yes. Is it observed? Yes. Then you tick. Has the learner been able to form the matrices? Yes, the matrices have been formed. Has the learner been able to arrange them? That yes, in the scenario, I had a 2 by this, and now I have written something like this, that maybe it is multiplication. So the learner has arranged them in a compatibility way. If that is observed, then you tick. Can the learner carry out the operation? In case it was multiplication, has the learner been able to multiply the 2 matrices? And have you that yes, that the that what multiplication has been seen? Has he been able to obtain results? The learner may be able to show the multiplication here, that I'm multiplying, that I have been able to what? To multiply, but he may not have the result, the final results here. Then that means that you will not tick this. Has he been able to draw conclusion? That no. Then that means you stop there. So that's how you do that. But you as a teacher, you have your guide, just have your guide here at the side to know what output you expect the child, but follow whatever step. So here we don't expect the learner to get maybe nothing or something like that, but we expect you to follow the steps the learner has provided. Okay. Yes, Priscilla?
Canceled. Good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon to you.
Thank you, Stephen, for the presentation.
Mm.
It has been a very good presentation and we have got a lot of it. I just wanted this presentation to circulate to most of the platform, especially on YouTube, such that some of our colleagues who are not present can be able to at least watch and listen exactly those steps. And then the other issue is we have a very big challenge on numbers, schools which are overpopulated. Sometimes the school administration don't even help in terms of maybe bring some of the resource, human resource to help. You find that you will struggle and then you'll find that at the end of the day, you'll become very, very exhausted. So I believe some of the people who are in charge human resource here in the ministry are part of this. We need a lot of human resource in order for this work to be at least having a reasonable portion to every person. And it's a very good idea, especially on the new curriculum. And then the other issue is like he talked about PE. Like for senior 3 or senior 4 talks about swimming. Now when you're trying to assess the actual manipulation, some of the schools in rural areas cannot actually practice because of the facility. Can the video work for that matter? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much for that. I'm going to start from the end where you have said, what if I'm in the village setting? Yes. Now, what am I going to advise? That a video, when it comes to a skill, is like someone watching a footballer playing soccer. Many times when we look at these people playing, we think things are easy. You see the person passing and say, that is easy, I can do it, I can do it. But when you go to the field, you'll find that it is different when you do it practically. Now, some of these skills that children must learn, they need to do them practically. That's where, as a school, as a teacher, you need to improvise. If you have, let me say, a swimming pool around or your neighbor or somewhere, take these children to see, take these children to have the practical done. Because there is no way the video is going to help them to have the skill. They must do them practically. In case maybe it's not, because there are two options. It can be swimming or it can be aerobics. Then you need to know that, if swimming may not be possible, let me take them for aerobics. So you go, you get you go for aerobics, you get your speaker, let them go for aerobics because they provide options that it can either be maybe swimming, it can be aerobics. So go for what it is easy to manage at school level. Okay. Then someone who asked about assessing of the generic skills. Let me use ICT here. Let me use this one here. Now, some of these things are now like here. They told that the skill, they are imitating peers. Now, when they talk about here, when they say plans and carries out investigation, that is the thing. Now, what are you going to check out that the learner has been able to plan and carry out investigation? By planning, you are going to, by planning and carrying out, you are going to ask yourself, has the learner been able to check the system requirements before installation? That before the learner checks out that is now the planning. As a teacher, what you need to look out for when they say planning and carries out. Now, in case it is installing and uninstalling software, you need to check out the system what requirements. Now, the learner is planning that I'm going to install this software, but what are the requirements for the system? That the system requires to have maybe 64-bit, but the system I have is 32-bit. Now, that is the kind of checking that we look out for, that the learner can check the system requirements before installation. Now, in case it comes to sorting and analyzing information, now there you look out for, has the learner been able to identify the correct installation files and software version that are compatible? That is what we call sorting and analyzing information. When it comes to identifying the problem and the way forward, then there you can check out, has the learner been able to notice installation failures and find a solution? That as he's installing, has he been able to notice any problem? In case it comes to predicting outcomes and make reasoned decision, then you ask yourself, has the learner been able to predict something that is incompatible with the software that may affect the computer? When it comes to evaluating the different solutions, then you look out for, has the learner been able to compare and installing methods on the software options? Like here, I evaluating different what? Solutions. The learner may try out different other ways he can be able to uninstall the software. Now, what does it mean? When it comes to these generic skills, it is not that all of them must be ticked. No, there are those that you may not be able to get. So that's why always not that we tick everything. No, tick what is relevant to the situation. Yes, sometimes for us, our work, we think that it is ticking everything. No, you'll find that there are some outcomes here that may not be applicable to the situation. So that's how you can evaluate that. Okay, let's have the last person, Chiza.
Yeah, thank you, sir, for the wonderful presentation. Yeah, my name is teacher Kiza Hilary. I'm a biology teacher. Yeah, so my question is about the genetic skills. There are some topics whereby it becomes very difficult to assess. Like here, like in senior field biology term 1, like the genetic skills were the same throughout all levels. Like the first one says, uses imagination to explore possibilities. The second one says, works with others to generate ideas. The third one, suggests and develops new solutions. The fourth, tries out innovative alternatives. The fifth, looks for patterns and makes generalization. So, and also, so how can I observe or assess that one genuinely? And then the second question is about the items they have given me here, the options to tick on each level. Some of them, they look like as if they require them to write the procedure only. So that's what I have. That's what's confusing me. Thank you.
Okay. Now, let me still go on and use that example. You'll note that for that particular topic of aerobic and anaerobic respiration, it was under psychomotor, and children had to do an experiment. Now, that means that at the first level of imitation, you had to perform as a teacher and children do exactly what you are doing. That was the first level of imitation. Now, you know very well. So after that, you ask yourself, when you look at the genetic skills, which indicators will you look? So when they say uses imagination to explore possibilities, now this is where the learner can think of different materials or conditions that can be used during the experiment. When they say that can work with others to generate ideas. Now this, what do we look out for? You look at the discussion. Can the learner discuss? Can he suggest different ways of carrying out this investigation? That maybe this time round, instead of using maybe cassava, we can use millet, something like that. When they ask for suggest and develop new solutions, then you ask yourself, can the learner, how has the learner proposed alternative methods that can be used to demonstrate anaerobic respiration. When we say trying out innovative alternatives, then you say, can he use locally available materials instead of the standard laboratory apparatus? Now that means that the learner is innovative. When they ask, looking for patterns and making generalization, can the learner compare the observation and identify maybe the trends during the investigation? Now you can try out that way, that as a teacher there is some standard thing you have given them, but can they think outside the box and think about other ideas apart from the ones you have given them, such that they come up with the same or similar result, but now that one means that they have tried out innovative alternatives, that they are not only basing on what you have given them, but also they are thinking that let us maybe try banana, let us try cassava, let us try millet. Now that is what we are looking out for, that in case it comes to anaerobic respiration, maybe using yeast, can they try out other things? So that is what we can look out for. That in case it comes to analyzing and evaluating, can they imagine and innovate something different? So those skills we are looking for should be able to come out from the learner naturally during the investigation, during the experiment. So we look out for things of improvising, things of thinking creatively, trying out other alternatives, that you have given them this, but they are not taking it as the gospel truth, but they are trying out other things apart from what you have given them to come up with a solution. That you have told them that to add, let me say in maybe ICT, you have told them the formula is equal to sum and this, but can they think about something differently and come up with the same thing or the same what? Result. Now, when you are looking at the generic skills, it's not that we are going to be seeing exactly what is there, but some of these things are implied that you need to think about what is it that the learners are going to do, such that you see that now there's some imagination. Because remember, at every level, like I've said that, let me use the driving thing, that at every level, there are things, there are skills that you are going to see that, the learner has reached this level. Now, how are you going to see the innovativeness that you told you, the instruction, what you taught the learner was that whenever you are turning, always first look left, right. But now the learner said, no, when I'm turning, I have to do this and the other, and then I come out very well from that problem. So that's how we can work out when it comes to that. Then when it comes to the checklist, like I've said, that every learner must have his own checklist, because you are going to observe these learners. Now, for the checklist in real life, compare them like medical results you have. Like all of you can't have this, like you have gone 50, even if they go 1,000 people in the hospital, they cannot say that because we don't have time, because it is very expensive, let us print for you one and we use that to observe you. No, every patient will have his own what? Checklist. A checklist, take it as that medical form you get as an individual. You get it as an individual. Then for the other bit is that, yes, in hospitals, we have the manual where the doctor writes. But after that, we put them in the what? In the ICT tools. So when it comes to ICT, for the paper thing, it may not sound like it is wasting, because you have seen schools that every term children are doing papers. You find that for geography or for whatever subject, the paper has how many papers? It has 5 papers. But as a school, you have been able to print for those students, for 1,000 students, and each of the papers has 5. And every term they are doing. So, are you wasting at school or you are not? Then number 2, the checklist, they are going to use one checklist for a full what? For a full term. But you find that schools are able to print beginning of term, is it mid-term and end of term. So still that is a lot of paper compared to what you are going to use for this. So what I'm advising is that for every learner must have his own medical form. So don't have one medical form for all learners, because the problem this learner has is not the same problem the other person is having. Number 2, whenever you write something on paper, is totally different from when you do it using the using the ICT. Something you have done on paper here, you are able to remember the problem, the challenge that this child has. Compared to when you did digitally, when you did digital, you may not be able to remember. But this writing puts a mark on your mind, on your brain, that this learner is struggling with this. So that means that in the process of supporting them, giving them more support, you remember very fast compared to when you do it digitally. Okay. Yeah, for wasting, compare the checklist to the number of papers you print at school, and you check who wastes more. Okay. Okay, I think, okay. Okay, let's have only Mr. Ivanda, and then we shall end at that point. Then I invite the principal education. Yes, Mr. Richard.
Yeah. Thank you, Stephen, for always doing this thing for us. You know, the Bible tells that iron sharpens iron. Thank you for sharpening us. I will request the members on the call to give you a hand clap. Stephen, my question is, my CAI is requires a practical activities, something of the sort, like the one that the teacher was talking about of last term in senior 3. I have about 100 or 200 students in the class. I have 5 levels to examine. These are practical skills that I want to assess. How best can I do this? Because ideally for every level, I will have to move around or make observations. Probably I'm checking on my checklist, and I have those number of students. Some of the schools have population, and you're moving. How best? Because yes, but I want easiest way for me to manipulate this and create scores for this guy. I beg to submit. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, Teacher Richard. Now, number one is that as an individual, on your 200 children you have, you are not going to be able to do it effectively. So I would advise that when it comes to the first level, when these children are observing what you are doing, because I know you may not be handling these children at the same time. Let me say you have the first stream which has about 100. Now, on that day, when you are going to do it, when they are going to be observing what you are going to do, do it as a team. Say we are how many teachers of biology, or how many teachers do we have? That we have 5 teachers in a school. So you go as a team. Every teacher handles maybe 30 or 20 children during that hour. Remember now, for practical, you cannot use the 40 minutes. It is a double lesson. So you go in for that double lesson. Every teacher handles 20 or 30 children. Then let me say that is the first phase. Then the next phase, you are going to go on and say, now we have another phase where they are going to be following instructions. Still get those 5 teachers, then observe, go with them in the lesson, let them support you, such that each one of you handles a few of them. Otherwise, as an individual, you will not be able to do it effectively. You'll find that this time round you have seen 5. The other time you have only been able to see 3. But if you can do it as a team of biology, like I've said now, like for the first level of just observing, depending on the resources you have at school, if at all it is, let me say, practical, and there is a given video you can use, you can be playing the video in the slow mode. Get your teachers, even if they are not biology teachers, because now for that first level, they can be able to observe clearly that children are doing this, but also you can first brief them before you take them. You can get other teachers you have, even if they are not biology, for the first levels. Tell them this is what you are going to be looking out for. Let them move with the checklist, observing each individual. By doing so, you can be able to manage all those children. Otherwise, as an individual, you will not be able to manage. So work as a team, get a team, let's work as a department. We can, even if we may not do it in the lesson, we can create time, let me say, over the weekend or any time we have, and then say, maybe during those time, because you know that some schools have 3 hours for practicals. Children move from physics, they go for biology, they go for this. You may decide that this weekend we are going to do biology. So all the children, all the teachers who are supposed to be handling practicals during that weekend, they come and then you do one subject. So I think that's how you can do it. So allow me to end here, and I thank you so much for attending. We shall have other sessions in the future to support each other. Allow me now to invite the Principal Education Officer to talk to us. Mr. Ronald, you're most welcome.
Thank you, Stephen. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, Mr. Ronald, you are clear.
Okay. I know my internet has been on and off, but I hope it will sustain the discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for the time you've put in this afternoon. I know it's a Sunday, but thank you for sacrificing so that we can all learn together. And I want to thank Mr. Kaziba for giving us this time and making sure that we all learn together. As you can see, the new curriculum demands that we learn, and the learning curve is a bit slow. We have to take time to learn, but we have to learn as we go. And that means that we need to learn together. There is no way you can learn alone and achieve this. We need to cooperate as a department in the school, but also as departments across schools. So I want to thank Mr. Kaziba for organizing this and for you accepting to be here. At one point, we were about 199 on the call. And for me, that was very good to see that we can all come together on a Sunday and learn. I also see the need for us to develop our subject teams so that we can learn in the subject teams and become better and better at this work. One important thing I want to talk about is being true to ourselves as we work on these continuous assessment activities, and not think about forging results, and allow the learners to go through the set activities so that we can achieve on the learning outcomes that have been described within the curriculum. If we don't do that, then we will not achieve on the lower secondary curriculum. So I want to request each one of us to think critically about being true to ourselves. However hard it is for now, we need to find alternatives, better ways of doing it, but not to cheat the way out of this. Someone asked for how long should we keep the checklists since they are bulky. Now, the reason, like Stephen talked about the medical form, the reason for keeping a medical form is to have the history. And you never know when your neighbor calls for that paper. And it can be after 2 years when an issue crops up and they need to verify. But maybe we can adopt scanning. The schools that can manage can scan and keep the record, but don't quickly think of throwing away the paper because anything can happen and you really need to refer back to that checklist. So friends, I know that this is the start of term, and maybe within the term, we'll need to find some more time to again convene and work together. But I also know that we have seminars where we have student-to-student interaction, but we also have workshops where we have teacher-to-student interaction. And we call upon those of you who are experts in your subjects to reach out to Stephen. Reach out to Stephen and indicate that you can support the country in that particular subject, so that we make teams that are going to help us support each other across the country. And if you joined our platform, and I've seen many of you joining today, please keep an eye on that platform for any other communication which will come from Stephen as we move forward. I want to thank you for your time and wish you the very best as you start the new term. Thank you, Stephen, and whoever has made it to this session today. Thank you. I want to close it at that.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ronald, and have a great day, everyone. We shall meet again. Like Mr. Ronald has said, we are going to share the seminar items next month, but also we are going to share the details such that you can keep preparing your learners. The recordings are going to be shared for this session. We shall share the slides as well, and also the checklists in the different groups. Have a blessed day.